truth science.
As well as the standard fair use policy, these videos are protected under the Treaty of Peace and Friendship 1787.
Moors are awake. We are taking our place on this planet.
Islam Moorish.
My nationality is Moorish.
When you Google true science comes up, you Google true science comes up and claims you're a sovereign citizen. I don't know about that one. That's probably one page, but let me clarify what sovereign is. If anybody don't understand this, mute your mic for 1 second, Doug. Sovereign people, not sovereign citizen. I never claimed to be a sovereign citizen, but there's a term called sovereign people, and sovereign people is the political body. Read my lips. Is the political body consisting of the entire number of citizens and qualified electors who, in their collective capacity, possesses the power of sovereignty and exercise them through their chosen representative. See Scott versus San Francisco. Somebody go pick up a law dictionary and make me out of a liar. I'm going to quote sovereign. I told you I'm off the top. You can't put me in a room with nobody. So people will make up things, but I'm going to give you by Black's law, rather it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Law dictionary. Sovereign people. There is no such thing as sovereign citizens. It's only sovereign people. People, true science wouldn't even come on this feed with me. You got to understand these dudes make up fake pages. So sovereign people in any law dictionary is the political body consisting of the entire number of citizens and qualified electors who in their collective capacity possesses the power of sovereignty and exercise them through their chosen representative. Let me prove my point. Was that clear enough? Did y'all pick up a law dictionary?
Yeah.
Let me show you something in constitutional law, just for the record. There is no such thing as sovereign citizen. You can't find that in no law dictionary whatsoever. But you can find, you see that? Constitutional law. Sovereign. That's called constitutional law. Sovereign. Make sure True Justice get this, okay? And tell them to come over here. See that? State sovereign immunity. That means because these so-called black conscious people don't read. They're looking for attention. You should seek respect instead of attention. Because I'm not the one you're going to play with and win. Okay? So pick up a law dictionary and look up sovereign people. And you get a $500 if you can find sovereign citizen in any law dictionary. Any law dictionary, you won't find it.
So Sabir thinks because he didn't call himself a sovereign citizen, that means he's not a sovereign citizen. In the next video, we're going to take a look at some things Sabir Bey has been teaching over the years. And by the end of the video, you can make the determination on whether you think Sabir Bey is a sovereign citizen or not. You can leave your opinions down in the comment section. By the way, Sabir Bey is selling this video for about $150. The mere fact that Sabir Bey is selling this video for such a high price to his audience, when it is easily purchased through a third party for a fraction of the price, that shows that he has no integrity. So I took the liberty of purchasing this video through a third party with my own funds for a fraction of the price that Sabir is selling it for. So without further ado, let's get into the main event.
Islam.
Islam, brother.
Islam, shalom, peace, assalamu alaikum.
Islam. Islamism.
All right. Let me see. We're going to begin this lesson on basically a question and answering and trying to put the puzzle together as far as the government. You know, what is the government functions? What is their duties? What is the legislative, executive, and judicial department? And what parts do they play in this society and with you? Let me see. Go to
First off, we're going to deal with the legislative department. Can you share with me, like when I talk to him, you can move the camera over to him also. You know what I mean? Do you know the function of the legislative department?
No, I don't.
All right. All right. The legislative department falls under Article 1 of the Constitution. You know that, right? Under Article 1. Article 2 is executive. Article 3 is judicial. That's the 3 steps. That's in your Constitution. Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution deals with the legislative department. Let's look up the legislative department, see what their job is, and who does it apply to. What's that, page 900? All right, it says here in Black's Law 6th edition.
And there we have it. Black's Law Dictionary making a special appearance on the record.
The legislative department is the department of government, i.e. Congress, consisting of the Senate and the House of Representatives, in Article 1 of the U.S. Constitution, whose appropriate function is to making or making or enactment of laws. Enactment, not enforcing, enactment of a law, as distinguished from the judicial department. Article 3, which interprets and applies the laws, and the executive department, Article 2, which carries them into execution. All right, now we know that the legislative department is the one who enacts a law. They enact the law. Did you get that, Brother Yasir?
Yes.
They enact the law. Article 3 is enforces it. So Article 2 enforces it. Article 3, which is interprets it, and that's the judicial department. So we dealt with the legislative department. And now we're gonna go to the executive department. All right. You understand anything about the executive department? What their job and duties are?
I need to know.
All right. That's what I'm here to try to inform you on. So these are the things that basically we need to know. So it says the executive department is distinguished from the legislative department. It says, i.e., the branches of government. The executive department is that which is charged with the detail of carrying the law into effect and securing their due observations. So it's totally different than the legislative. One is to carry it into effect, and you have one that enacts the law, enacts it. They can't do anything else but enact the law. So the next step is Article 3. Let's see what their job is in Article 3 of judicial. Article 3, judiciary. All right, it says judiciary, the state of the profession of those officers who are employed in administering justice of the judiciary. It says the judiciary tribunals of a court of justice jurisdiction. Now it says the court of justice of jurisdiction, the right of judicial actions, the scope, extent of jurisdiction. Now, we then went through the executive, legislative, and judicial. What department are we operating with in these courtrooms, these municipal courts? Is the legislative, executive, or judicial? Which one are they?
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
Judicial.
Judicial? Are they? Are they administrative?
Well,
Are they administrative? If the magistrate is part of the executive branch, the mayor is part of the executive branch, the DA is part of the executive branch, where is the judicial falling at?
brother, I'm not.
They're under Article 1, Section 8.
Still don't follow.
You don't follow?
No.
You have 3 branches of government. That's all it is. Article 1 is the Constitution. Article 1 is judicial. No, it's legislative. Article 2, executive. Article 3 is judicial. 3 branches. In the state, in the federal, and all. So, where does the administrative come in at? Because this is what they're operating under. Because every magistrate is administrative law judges.
Okay. And you saying where does the administrative fall in under that?
An agency. So you ain't got it's an agency.
Okay.
You have to have some type of contract with the agency. Well, let's go back. Let's read administrative anyway, so just so you understand. These are the administrative law, the body of law created by administrative agency in the form of a rule or regulations, under a rule and regulation, orders, and decisions to carry out regulatory power and duties of such agencies. That's what administrative law is. Go back. It's a body of law created by the administrative agency in the form of rules, regulation, orders, and decisions to carry out regulatory power and duties of such agencies. Agencies are corporations. Traffic court is an agency. These courtroom, municipal is an agency. Municipality is an agency also. And let's look up, just for the sake, let's find out what an agency is. All right. Where we at? All right. An agency. The relationship between two persons or an agreement, or otherwise where one, the agent, may act on behalf of the other, and the principle and bind principle of words and actions, relations of which one person acts for or represents another by ladder or authority, either by relationship of the principal and an agent, master and servant, or an employer or proprietor or independent contractor. So this is what an agent's administrative law is, dealing with an agency. And you have agents, which is also the police officers, because the police officers are actually servants, which are agents for the municipality.
It should be clear by this point that this man is just reading things, but he has no real comprehension of what he's actually reading.
And it's proof on the back of their car showing you who they work for. They work for a municipal agency. All right. Okay. Let's go into the let's find out what an agent is. An agent, a person authorized by another, the principal, to act for one or in place of him, one interest with another's business, one who represents and acts for another under the contract of relations of an agency. A business representative whose function is to bring out, modify, affect, and accept performance of or terminate contractual obligation between principal and third persons. So the police agents are working for the municipal corporations. They're corporate agents. That's what they are. So let's go back. There's another agent also. It's the attorney. What is the attorney's job? Could you? I mean, y'all can shoot at me anytime. Any questions, just shoot at me.
Here, represent.
To represent who?
To represent a person through the law.
Okay, now you said represent a person, right? What is a person?
According to the dictionary, or according to...
I mean, we dealing with law here now. We not, we dealing with law, so we not going in the courtroom with Webster's. We dealing with law. Attorney. It says, in most general senses, the term denotes an agent or substitute, or one who is appointed and authorized to act in place instead of another. It says an agent or one acting on the behalf of another. All right. It says in most general common uses, however, unless contrary, it says contrary meaning is clearly intended. This term means attorney at law, lawyer, or counselor. An attorney means a professional law association, corporation. Going back, the only people who has to get an attorney is those who operate as a corporation. Why? Because a corporation cannot speak for oneself. So it's incompetent. So it can't speak, so you have to get an interpreter. He's an agent and a substitute. That's what the attorney is.
Excuse me, sir, but what in the doohickey are you talking about?
All right, it says, or a partnership authorized under applicable law to practice law. Now, we were just speaking about the term person. We was getting to the term person and what person meant. Let's read what person means.
think I have it here.
All right, could you read it for me?
Sure. It says, a man considered according to the rank he holds in society, with all the right to which the place he holds entitles him, and the duties which it imposes. The word in its natural and usual signification includes women as well as men. The term may include artificial beings as corporations.
Keyword, attorney, operate corporations. Now, I'm going to bring you to the 4th Black's Law Dictionary. I mean the 6th rather, and it says you, person in general uses, a human being, i.e. a natural person, though by statute. We're dealing with the statutes when they say the persons. Term may include labor organizations, partnerships, association, corporations, legal representations, trustees, and bankruptcies, or receivers. Go back. So the attorneys means attorney professional law association, corporations, or partnerships authorized under applicable law to practice law. So they operate with the corporation. So when you go in and they ask you, are you that person? And you say, yes, I'm that person. You now have to go get their attorney and come in with you because you're a dummy. And that's where you get their dummy corporation from.
This dude has absolutely no idea what he's talking about. He thinks he just made some type of deep connection, connecting a corporation with an attorney. He's bypassing the fact that it clearly states that a person is a human being. You cannot get around that. Now, if this isn't sovereign citizen teaching, then I don't know what is. Sabir Bey would have us believing that he isn't a sovereign citizen, yet he is clearly sitting here with his red fez on, teaching sovereign citizen nonsense.
So the word person itself is powerful in that way.
Exactly. Now they say natural person, because natural and person is two totally different. When you read 14th Amendment, it says all persons born or naturalized. They're talking about the corporations. They say all persons born or naturalized is subject to the jurisdiction, subject to something that created it. So now that's how they tie it in. And they are you a resident? Yes, I'm a resident. Res-ident, thing to identify. It doesn't move. So that's how they tie you into it. What's your address? Oh, I live at 2216 Malasky Street, whatever street. That's first right there. When you're dealing with these people in their courtrooms, this is how they get subject matter jurisdiction. Subject matter jurisdiction is that they say the place where you live at, the area that you live in. But if you understood what jurisdiction is, which is jurist is versed and skilled in law. Diction is knowing good diction, a dictionary. So I am versed in skill and I have good diction. So so I know the difference between the two. So you cannot have jurisdiction over me when I have the two.
And I'm here to demand that the court prove jurisdiction over me as a live flesh and blood man. As I said, I submitted a challenge to jurisdiction. Jurisdiction must be proven and proven on the record. And then also I submitted Freedom of Information Act request for your foreign registration statement and anti-bribery statement, as well as that of prosecutor.
Well, I'm sorry, but I don't know what you're talking about.
There is no contract. Every presentment that was made to me was formally rejected and sent back to the court, which is what you have a copy of.
State your name for the record, please.
Islam. I self-law am master and proper persona, jurist or heritage of the land.
Ma'am, I said state your name.
I will state for this X-rail.
Ma'am, listen, let me say this to you.
This trade name, this trade name.
If you did not come to court, if you didn't come to court to participate in court, please don't come back to my courtroom. So I've muted you, so therefore we can't even hear what you're saying. So let me be clear. If you have not come to court, because let me just be clear. Okay, well, you have a great day. Have a great day. If I didn't think someone had jurisdiction over me, I promise you, I would not even get out of my bed. I promise you, let me say this. If a person did not have jurisdiction over me, if I believed that a person, that an entity did not have jurisdiction over me, I promise you, I would not get up out of my bed. I would not take a time off of work. I would not stop anything that I was doing for that day. I promise you, let me say this. If a person did not have jurisdiction over me, if I believed that a person, that an entity did not have jurisdiction over me, I promise you, I would not get up out of my bed. I would not take a time off of work. I would not stop anything that I was doing for that day to come to court to say these things. Number one, you know it's going to get you nowhere. There is no, it's like speaking Spanish to an English speaking person. So if you believe, Miss Sealy, from the bottom of your heart, that I nor this court has any jurisdiction over you, ma'am, don't come. You don't come. Because there's nothing. There is absolutely nothing. There is nothing that I can do for you. If you are not interested in proceeding in a manner that we can understand you, if you're going to simply read off some stuff to me, it's equivalent to me going over to England. Since apparently you all don't believe that you're citizens, I don't really care what you believe. It is equivalent to me going over to England, getting arrested, and then telling them they don't have jurisdiction over me. If they let me go home, I promise you, if I didn't think they had jurisdiction over me, I'm not showing up. So okay. So we can try this one more time. If you want to state your name for the record so that we can have the name for the record, then you can state your name for the record. If you're going to say all of that other stuff to me that I don't have jurisdiction, then I'm gonna subside, and I'm gonna go ahead and move on to another case. I am going to remove you from the courtroom because this is going to get us nowhere. Nowhere. Now, by the time you've said all of this, by the time you've done all of this, this is a 2017 case. We probably would be finished with the case by now. Probably would be. Probably would be. Of course, I'm not going to give legal advice. I'm not going to say what she should do and how she should respond. Probably would be finished with this case by now. Okay, ma'am, please state your name for the record.
Okay. Let's finish on in dealing with the definition of persons. It says aliens. Aliens are persons within the meaning of the 14th Amendment and are thus protected by equal protection clause against discriminatory state actions. So let's read that again. Aliens, not spook people coming from outer space. Aliens. Aliens are persons within the meaning of the 14th Amendment and are thus protected by the equal protection clause against discriminatory state actions. Now, what made the Negroes citizens? Did they say? The 14th Amendment. So they are saying that they're aliens. So now that they're subject to the laws that they created, you are subject to whatever. So you cannot go in any courtroom stating my name is John Smith or whatever, because now you are a subject, and subject is one who's liable. Plain and simple. Subject means one who's liable.
So any subject.
Any subject. Anything, anytime the word subject or sub period, it means under and beneath. Subway, submarine, everything is under. So this is how they get you. You are subject to the jurisdiction thereof. All right, going back to persons again. Corporations. A corporation is a person within the meaning of the 14th Amendment. Go back again. They say that the 14th Amendment made them citizens. A corporation is a person within the meaning of the 14th Amendment and equal protection and due process provision of the United States Constitution. Now, also we have illegitimate. Illegitimate children are persons within the meaning of the equal protection clause of the 14th Amendment. So if they say you have an illegitimate child, that is also subject to the jurisdiction thereof is under the 14th Amendment also, which is unconstitutional. Why aren't we being told this? I don't know. Well, I know also. A slave master would never reveal the truth to his slaves and never make you equal to him. Okay, now here's another one. A minor, which they call us minorities. Minorities means a minor mind. It has nothing to do with a number. It has something to do with your mentality. Okay, minority. Minors are persons under the United States Constitution possessed by rights that government must respect. That's what a minor is under the word person. Here's another one. Municipalities. Every police car has municipalities on the back of their car. Municipalities and other government units are a person within the meaning of Title 42 of the United States Codes annotated, subsection 1983. Let's repeat that again. Persons within the meaning of Title 42 of the United States Codes annotated, Title 42, subsection 1983. Local government officials sued in their official capacity are persons. So you can sue them in their, he says, local government officials sued in their official capacities are persons. For the purpose of sections 1983, and those cases which are local government would be suable in their own name. So you can sue them.
So this is yet another sovereign citizen tactic that we see frequently. They always are threatening to sue someone. And this is Sabir Bey here teaching that this type of activity can be done. Yet, if you have a conversation with Sabir Bey, he would tell you that he isn't a sovereign citizen. Well, Sabir, what are you doing here teaching the sovereign citizen sue tactic?
So don't ever say that you cannot sue them, but you can sue them. Okay. Let's go on to the next. Let's see. Where are we at? Okay, we're going to deal with the terminology of in-law and at-law. Now, we know attorneys practice at-law because they have here... Oh, let's finish this. The word attorney. It's a Latin word, means a torn. It's a torn. Did you know that?
Yes.
It's a torn. You know what a torn means?
No.
You know what a torn means? Okay, a torn means to basically turn over, and that's what the word attorney means. A torn, to turn over, to transfer to another money or goods, to assign to some particular or use of service, to consent to the transfer of a rent reversion. So when you get an attorney, he's basically turning you over to the king's bench. Anyone who gets an attorney, he's basically turning you over to the king.
Is that his main job?
That's his job, because he has three obligations. The first, and this is in Title 42 of the United States Code. His first job is to the judge, or the magistrate. The second is to the jury. The third is to you. And you're the only one that's coming out your pocket. You're the only one sitting in the courtroom. You can't say anything. So this is what's going to. That's his job. All right. So we want to see. They say they practice at law. All right. So we want to look up the definition of at law and in law. All right. At law. Could you try to find in that book too, brother? These are keys that you need to learn to actually know what's being played on you. And these attorneys will never come out and tell you these things. All right, I have it here. All right, at law, according to law, by, for, or in law, particularly a distinction from that which is done in according to equity, or in titles such as surgeon at law, or barristers at law, attorney and counselors at law. So they didn't say a lawyer at law, they say an attorney at law. All right. So we want to look up the definition of let's see what in-law is, because I know there's a difference between in-law and at-law. If I'm in the law, I'm in it. If I'm at the door, I'm in the door. I'm at the door, not in the door.
What?
So there's a, people say it's a play on words, but no, they know what they're doing. It's called the art of words. They know exactly what they're doing. All right, let's go. 787. Here we go. In law, in the intendment, contemplation of inference of law and applied or referred by law, existing in law or forced by law. Force of law. Okay, so we have at law, according to law, by, for, or in law, particularly in distinction from that which is done in accordance to equity or titles of such surgeons. So we have in law, that which is totally different, dealing with law. So they don't say they're in law, they talk about they're at the law. So you're near it, practicing your profession. And it says also see in fact. See in fact. So let me see, 7. And fact 777. Let's have that. 25. Bear with me 1 second.
What are you looking for again?
In fact. Thought I had it written down on here.
I hear that word used.
What?
Fact.
In fact, because you have to deal with attorney in fact or attorney at law. Attorney at law practices profession. All right, here you go. In fact, it's actual and real, as distinguished from implied or inferred, resulting from the acts of parties instead of from the act of intentment of law. So it's totally different. Something that's real, not equity. It's something that's totally real. Okay, this is where I want to get is jurisprudence. Can you change law? That's a question. Can you change law?
Me personally?
No, I'm just saying anyone. They say it's a new law that's always coming out. Can you change it?
Not without approval.
Okay, let's put it this way. Can you change gravity?
No.
Okay, then you cannot change law. See what I'm saying?
I've got you.
So if you cannot change gravity, you cannot change law.
What in the doohickey are you talking about?
All right, so let's deal with the law. What law is?
All right, but who can create law? I mean, besides, the people that's been creating law for years.
The people.
Already.
It's supposed to be the people. It's supposed to be the people. All right, but the law of nature does not change. You cannot change it. So law is something that was yesterday, today, and tomorrow. So you can't change the law. They say, well, they just passed the law. The legend. No. Read your Constitution. Your Constitution says, let me see if I can find it in this one right here. Let me see if I can find it. Where you at? The legislative's duty. I just told you what it was. Article 1. Article 1, Section 8. Where you at? This one kind of beat up, but alright, here we go. Article 1, Section 8. Where you at? Where you at? Where you? I'm trying to find exactly where it's at. You can grab that phone and let that. Hansel is?
Yeah. Yes, he is. Who's calling? Right here from Los Angeles. Yeah.
Keep checking to see if we can hear. We have a, like, that's a brother from California that's calling in. So if y'all have, like, if y'all ask questions, y'all can say it loud enough so he can actually hear. All right.
Can you hear right now, bro? You got 119 minutes.
119 minutes. That's cool.
He said that's cool, so I think that's sufficient. I've repeated what you said to him, Sabir.
All right. Okay. So, all right. Let's go into dealing with the You asked the question about the legislature. You could probably sit that down there, brother. Just somewhere, you know.
Yeah, just want to make sure you can hear.
All right. You asked the question about the legislature. Legislative can make rules and regulations concerning their property. That's the legislative job. So if you're not their property, how do they have jurisdiction over you? All right. Let's go back to what you just said about the law, about changing the law and all these different things. We're going to deal with jurisprudence. Do you know what, anyone of y'all know what jurisprudence is? Okay, jurisprudence. Jurist, first of all, means versed in law, means dealing with law, period. Jurisprudence is the philosophy of law, or which the science which treats the principles of positive law in legal relations. All right? So, it's a science. Like I just told you, you cannot change law. Law is something that was yesterday, today, and tomorrow. So you cannot change the law. You can change a legislative, which is a legality. Legislative only means legality. It's dealing with legislative legal issues. All right? All right. So, what is the two jurisdictions that the Constitution has? You have criminal, civil. What else? There is no other one. I was just messing with you. There is none. So, it's only civil and criminal. So, dealing with a criminal, what do you have to have? Dealing with any kind of criminal issue, what do you have to have?
Would I have to have jurisdiction?
No, go back. Wait, well, I just explained to you what the jurisdiction was. What'd you say?
Proof.
Proof, right? You gotta have inter party, right? It was criminal. Right?
Okay.
You got to have inter party. All right? But let's go and see what the criminal law is.
That's in any criminal, I mean, as far as...
Any crime. The Constitution even said an indictment of a grand jury for a crime. What crime? What has a crime? You got to have what? A corpus delicti, which is the body of the crime.
Okay.
Corpus delicti means the body of the crime. Corpus means body of the crime. Corpus, period. Corporations, Marine Corps, corpse, period. Anytime you hear that word corpse, it's dealing with a dead body. It's a body. So that's going back to when it says citizens are persons. So when you say citizens are persons, you're talking about the corporations. They're dead. So who's dead? That's why you have to get an attorney. You got to go through the whole procedures because you're dead. You can't speak. All right? The criminal law. The substantiated criminal law is that law which for the purpose of preventing harm to society, A, declares what conduct is criminal, and B, prescribes the punishment to be imposed for such conduct. It includes the definition of specific offenses and general principles of a liability. Go back to what I just told you what a subject was. Subject is one who's liable. You're liable for something. It says substantiated criminal laws are commonly codified into criminal or penal codes. Criminal and penal codes. This is where you will find your stuff at. Every state has these codes. They might be by Gold Publishing, but there are also maybe California crime codes, it may be Florida crime codes. You can find these things at any university that you go to. But you can also order online if you go to Gold Publishing. You know, www.goldpublishing, you will find them codes of your state there. And all right, it says it's commonly codified into criminal or penal codes. United States Codes annotated Title 18. Here it says the Title 18 California Penal Code, Model Penal Code. Compare criminal procedures. So here it says it in the book of the United States Codes, Title 18. And Title 18 is this book here, Crimes and Criminal Procedures. This is Title 18 of the United States Codes. So I'm going to read to this when I get time. I'm going to read the United States Codes. All right. So if it's criminal, we have to have some type of injured party, right? All right, so if it's not criminal, it has to be civil. All right, let's go back and see what civil is. The civil, though, you don't go to jail for civil offenses. You pay a fine. And that's what they locking people up with this, you know, I don't know, this scofflaw thing. I don't know what you call it, but still trying to find a law on it, but it doesn't exist. You know, if it's a crime, a lot of people locked up unfortunately. All right, let's deal with the criminal, 246. Civil. All right, civil law, the body, back, corpus, the body of law, which every particular nation, commonwealth, or city has established in, peculiarly for itself, more properly called municipal. Go back, please have municipal. You have the municipal courts, different things like that. It says called municipal law to distinguish it from the law of nature. Weren't we just talking about that?
That's correct.
Now, what did I just tell you jurisprudence was? Jurisprudence was the science of law, which treats positive law. So we deal with nature. So now we are in violation if I kill you. That's a crime. See what I'm saying? So there's a difference here. It's a natural crime. Now, it says distinguish from the law of nature and the international law. Laws concerned with civil or private rights and remedies are as contrasted with criminal laws. The system of jurisprudence. Weren't we just talking about jurisprudence? It's the science of law. It's natural law. So are we dealing with jurisprudence? Or are we dealing with state statutes? Okay, there you go. We're dealing with legality, right? All right, then. So you can't change law. All right. It says the system of jurisprudence held and administrated in the Roman Empire, particularly as it set forth in the complications of Justinian and his successor, whoever that is, the Institute Code Digest and novels collectively. It said denominated the corpus juris. Just told you, corpus juris. Corpus means body of the crime. The law. It says corpus juris. It says civil, and distinguished from the common law of England and the canon law. The civil law or civil code is followed in Louisiana. See code civil. So you have the two. Now you know the difference between natural and statutory. And when they say statutory, they're talking about their statutes. This is their statute they're talking about. This one here is Title 42 of Rules of Civil Procedure. All right. This one here is the Pennsylvania Consolidated Statute annotated Title 18 Crimes and Offenses. All right. This is by Purton's. This one is by West Publishing, West Group, and every state has the same thing. West Group, Pennsylvania. I know they have Purton's that put it out, but these things are in every one state, so you can find these things. All right. So let's move on. Let's go to see corpus juris, which I was explaining to you just now about what corpus juris meant. We're going to read what the Law Dictionary, Black's Law Dictionary 6 speaks about. All right, we're going to, here's corpus. Corpus says Latin, the body of aggregated of a mass men, laws and or articles, physical substance, and distinguished from intellectual conception. All right. Corpus delicti and corpus juris. Let's read corpus juris first. A body of law, the term used to signify a book comprehending several collections of law. There are two principal collections to which this name is given: the corpus juris civilis and the corpus juris canica, might be pronouncing it wrong, also named Encyclopedia Statement of the Principles of American Law, corpus juris secundum. Always remember that corpus juris secundum is the body of the crime. So we have corpus delicti is the body. The corpus delicti is the body of the crime. Corpus juris is the body of laws. Correct me on that. Corpus juris is the body of the law. Corpus delicti is the body of the crime. All right. It says the material substance upon which a crime has been committed. That's the corpus delicti. You got to have a body. Upon which a crime has been committed, the corpus of a murdered man, the chariot remains of the house burned down. All right. So that's what corpus delicti is. I had it backwards, but corpus Jurist is the body of law. Corpus delicti is the body of the crime. So they have to have a body of a crime if they saying a crime was committed. Driving without a license again, there is no body of a crime. They have to have a body of crime. If there's a crime, you have to have a jury trial. But what they'll do in the courtrooms is say, well, you are a disorderly person. That's what they'll bring up. They'll tell you that you're disorderly.
So they'll automatically tag that on.
Because they'll try to say that the Constitution of the state don't have to give you a jury trial if you're a disorderly person.
So Sabir is talking about corpus delicti, which is something we always hear these sovereign citizens spouting, and he also went into driving without a license not being a crime. Now, if this isn't sovereign citizen nonsense, then I don't know what is, Sabir.
But according to the Constitution, you telling me that I committed a crime, I need to see the indictment papers, and also I want to see the indictment papers from the DA. Where's the DA signing something? Stating. Not a stamp. You need a signature and a seal. Not a stamp. We need something embossed. Embossing. You have to go through an embossing seal. So that's not what that is. Let's see what the police officers have to deal with. First of all, let's go and deal with regulations. All right. The home rule charter. Every city has their home rule charter. I know for sure. I researched it. You know. And in this book here, they give you the authority of the municipal police officers. And you can purchase this book here. If you're in Philadelphia, you can purchase it at the water department on JFK. It's called the Peculiar's office. You have to go downstairs in the basement, go through the front, and downstairs at the basement. I think it's like $9. Everyone should have this book. And they give you the authority of the mayor. When people keep thinking the mayor has all the say-so, but it's not the mayor, it's the city council. You have to write to the city council. You have to get on the city council. The mayor is just the executive officer of the branch. The DA is executive officer of the branch. The judge is part of the executive officer of the branch. So there's no separation of power there. There's no judicial there, because there are no judges. The judges that we're calling judges are administrative law judges. Let's see what the power of the police department is in the city home rule charter. All right, section 5-200 functions. The Philadelphia police. The police department shall have the power, and its duty shall be to perform the following functions. A. Law enforcement. It shall preserve the public peace, prevent and detect crime. Police the streets and highways and enforce traffic statutes. Ordinances and regulations relating to thereon. The department shall at all times aid in the administration of the enforcement with the city and of the statutes of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania and the ordinance of the city. We want to get to that ordinance and regulations. I'm going to read to who it does apply to. All right. Here we have section 5-201 of the Home Rule Charter. The power of the policeman. The members of the Philadelphia Police shall have all power conferred by statute, not by law, conferred by statute, and ordinances upon members. Now it says here, upon their members of the police force of the cities of the first class, upon constables and of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Now, are you a member of the charter? Are you a member of the police department? Let's read that again. Section 5-201, power of the policeman. The members of the Philadelphia Police shall have all power conferred by statute and ordinances upon members of the police force of the cities of the first class. Upon constables of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, they shall have the power to make lawful searches, seizures, and arrests for violation of statutes or ordinances enforced in the city, to serve subpoenas when ordered to do so by their superior officer, and to do such other acts as may be required of them by statute or ordinances. All right.
Not dealing with law at all.
They can't deal with law. So they have to deal, and people are thinking that the ordinances and the regulations apply to you, but it does not apply to you. They cannot enforce law. They can only enforce the statutes, ordinances, and regulations.
Sabir is clearly unaware that a statute is a law, but carry on, fool.
Okay, now let's deal with that. Okay, we're going to look up the definition of an ordinance then. And let's see what the ordinance and regulations are dealing with. Let's look up regulations first. Let me see, 286. Why did I put that down there? 286. Why did I put that in there? You know, I must have been real tired yesterday.
Well, I have regulation here.
All right, could you read that for me?
Yeah, it says the act of regulating a rule or order prescribed for management or government, a regulating principle, a precept, rule of order prescribed by superior or competent authority relating to action of those under its control.
Stop. Now, who is under the rules and regulations?
Police officers and people who belong to their club.
Exactly. They are under the charter. So when they put the little signs outside your house, who is subject to the regulation? Could you read on?
That was actually it on that.
All right. Let me see what this one says right here, this law book. All right.
What signs are you referring to when you say they put in front of
you know that they clean the streets and all that. You ever see the sign that says, do not park here, police regulations?
Right.
Who are they referring to?
Themselves.
There you go.
Wrong.
But I'm going to get into that and how they tie you into all this now. All right, in this book here, this 6th law dictionary says, regulations, such are issued by various governmental departments to carry out the intent of the law. Agencies issue regulations to guide the activity of those regulated by the agency and their own employees. What is it? The water department, the construction people, they all have municipal tax. Now, let me read on. It says regulated by agencies and their own employees and to ensure uniform application of the law. It applies to them. Has nothing to do with you.
It's mind-boggling that somebody could be this wrong and actually think that they're teaching someone else. This is sad.
Now, we dealt with that. Let's go to the ordinance. Now, remember, the Home Rule Charter says ordinance and regulations. This is where the authority lies in the Home Rule Charter. And everyone should get this book. Let me tell you. All right. Let me see. You need that. Ordinances. By the authority, a permanent rule of action, a law or a statute, it is most common meaning. The term is used to designate the enactment of legislative body. It didn't say law, did it?
No, it didn't.
It said here, go back, the enactments of the legislative body of a municipal corporation. It is to designate a local law of a municipal corporation duly enacted by the proper authorities prescribing general uniform permanent rules of conduct relating to the corporate affairs of the municipality. So who is they talking about?
Not us.
Not you, because you're not part of the corporation. But you are. If you say you live in the city of Philadelphia, let's see what the city of Philadelphia is in the Home Rule Charter.
Wait, excuse me for interrupting, but is that getting back to that word residence again?
I'm going to speak about that.
Right.
I'm going to speak about that. The Home Rule Charter, Article 1, Power of the City. It says Section 1-100. The city's power defined pursuant to Section 1 of Article 15 of the Constitution. The acts of the General Assembly approved April 21st, 1949, Public Law 665 of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. The city of Philadelphia hereafter is this charter called the city. The city of Philadelphia. It is a charter. If you say you live in the city or work in the city of Philadelphia, then you are part of their charter. This is how they're doing it. Or what's your address? I live at 2222 Mockingbird Lane or whatever. You're subject. See what I'm saying? Now you're under the Home Rule Charter. You work there. I work on 6th and Market Street. You work in the city of Philadelphia. Or do you work in Philadelphia County? Or do you work in Philadelphia City? Which one do you work in? Okay. How do you write your location down where you at? Do you put care of, or do you just put I live at 2222 Mockingbird Lane?
If you put care of, then what does that
It's a mailing location. stating that you don't live there, but you can receive mail there. Because an address is where mail communication can reach a person. It doesn't say that you live anywhere. It's just that you're doing business there. So now they can tax you. Now they can do everything to you because now you're saying you live within their city charter. And this predates it.
This dude has absolutely no idea what he's talking about. He is just running his mouth.
All right. Let's go on. It says, an ordinance is the equivalent of a municipal statute passed by city council. So city council passes it. He gives the mayor and tell the mayor what to do, and the mayor tells the police officers what to do. He's just like the president of the United States. He's the executive officer of the military, and the mayor is the executive officer of the police, and then you have the governor, which is the executive officer of the state police. They're all part of the executive branch of the government. So where does the judicial part fall in it? Is it around anymore? It's there. When you start dealing with Superior Court, Supreme Court, it's there. But nobody's exercising it. We're operating under administrative law. And administrative law is dealing with an agency which, if I have a contract with you, you have to produce the contract. So we have to understand and know how to protect ourselves in contract law also. Understanding that by us saying, they say, like, do you understand what I'm saying to you? You say, yes, that's a contract. You come in and you're writing a signature down, you're consenting. All law is based on consent. So if you don't understand contract law, you're done. You're basically done. And what is a charter? All right, let's go look up the definition of what a charter is. Since they're under the Home Rule Charter, we're going to look up what charters are and see if I'm part of your charter. Because if I don't go to your, like a charter school, I don't go to your charter school, I'm not subject to your rules and regulations. Oh, here we go. Here you go. A charter, an instrument emanating from the, all right, here you go. An instrument emanating from the sovereign power in the nature of a grant either to a whole nation or a class or a portion of the people, to the corporation or to a colony or independency, assuring them certain rights and liberties of power, such as the Great Charter of the Magna Carta. And the Magna Carta come out of England. The charter granted to certain of the English colonies in America. So, am I part of your charter?
No.
Do we have a contract?
No.
How do you get a contract?
Have to agree to one.
Exactly. And our parents did it when we was born. They actually put our foot on a piece of paper, and they shipped that piece of paper to the Department of Commerce and gave you a certificate of title. Certificate of. It's not real ownership. This is how they did it. So everything that we're signing throughout our lives is contracts. I don't care if it's verbal. It's a verbal contract. It's a written contract. It's all contracts. Now, where is my contract with the police department at? Do I have one?
Not unless you're a resident.
Exactly. Well, even if I'm a resident, then again, it could be. Just look up, I'm going to look up, all right, here's the municipal charter. The municipal charter, a legislative enactment. Keep saying, see, this legislative keep coming up. It's an enactment. Everything is an enactment. It's not law. It's an enactment of legislative because they can make rules and regulations concerning their property. The municipal charter, a legislative enactment conferring governmental power of the state upon its local agencies. Of its agencies. Are you part of the agency? No, you're not part of the agency. So you have to have some type of contractual obligation with these people. That's the sick of an application, applying for, application. So you have to have the contract. If someone says something is law, always make them prove it. What we don't do, we don't ask questions. We don't never say, could you show me that law? They may say, well, it's in, I had an incident not too long ago with I didn't know he was a police officer. I had an incident. They was writing a brother, I guess it was a brother or a sister, because they was coming to the car, a ticket. They was from California. So I made a statement is that, what are they going to do? Take the ticket all the way to California and they're going to answer it? He opens his mouth up and said, well, they'll get him for scofflaw. So I'm asking him, I'm saying, brother, where's that thing scofflaw at? He said, well, It's a summary. I said, brother, I didn't ask you what kind of court it was. I said, what is scalp law? If you telling me there's a law, produce the law to me, because I'm not a gopher and I don't go for anything. You got to show me the law that you're accusing me of. So he got mad and brought up the motor vehicle law. I said, oh, what do you mean? The Pennsylvania Motor Vehicle Law, Title 75. He shut up after that. And I said, anytime someone asks you, tell you something that's a law, tell them to produce that law. They cannot produce the law. Is it in the state constitution? Is it in the Home Rule Charter? Is it in the Black's Law Dictionary, Bouvier's Dictionary, Ballantyne's Dictionary? Is it in the Pennsylvania statutes? It's in none of these things. So there is no law of scalp law, period. So he got mad, you know, and I didn't really care, you know, about him being mad at me, because truth is truth.
Truth science.
And you can't hide truth. So it didn't matter to me about him being witchcraft. I knew what his job was. I even told him, you take about 2 or 3 months just to have training. Municipal police officer takes about a couple months training. To have a law degree, to be a state police officer, you got to have 3 years of college almost, because you have to know the law. So he don't know anything about the law. So he was mad at me, so that's his problem. I knew what he was taught. All right. Now let's go back. Let's deal with the municipal authorities. The municipal authorities, with all police officers have that on their car. It says, as used in statutes contemplating the consent of such authorities, the term means the consent by legislative authorities. The city acting by ordinances, not law. They cannot act in law. They have to act under ordinances. And ordinances is not applying to us. It says, for example, in a town, the members of the town board has nothing to do with you and I.
So who's the town board?
Well, you have, I'll look up in a minute, to deal with that. All right, here's municipal law. It says the municipal law, the law that pertains solely to the citizens and inhabitants of a state, thus distinguished from political law, commercial law, and international law. Now go back to what we just were reading about the civil, when it was talking about jurisprudence. They said international law, right? It says, in some more common and narrow connotations, however, it means those laws which pertain to towns, cities, and villages, and their local government people. Ex rel. Ray versus Martin. Municipal officer. Now, they call these corporate agents officers, which they don't hold an office. All right. Municipal officers, one who holds an office of a municipality, e.g., the mayor, city manager. So who are these people we calling officers? Who are these people we calling police? They're neither one of them. They're corporate agents. Officer means someone who holds an office. That's law. All right. Municipality. Go back. Their card says municipality. A legal, incorporated, or duly authorized association of inhabitants of a limited area for local, governmental, or other political public purposes. A body politic created. So can something created control the creator?
No.
So if we are the ones that created these things, how can they control you now unless I'm created? See what I'm saying? So they are basically saying that you're below them.
Right.
And that's subject again. Sub means beneath. You don't want to be subject to anything if you don't understand your status at law and who you are. It says created by or incorporation of the people. See, there you go. And I'm going to get into that. Go to the people. We just read persons. I'm going to go to what people mean. It says by the incorporation of the people of prescribed locality invested with the subordinated power of legislation to assist in the civil government of the state and to regulate, administer local and internal affairs of the community. So if the people created the municipality, how do the people, be subject to it? See what I'm saying? Go back. The Constitution says what? We the people, right?
Right.
All right. So it don't say we the persons. And I just showed you what a person was. A person was a corporation. So the corporation is under the municipality.
So in other words, like when the bill comes in your name, that's your person.
You're a person. That's your fiction. It doesn't exist. It's not real. It's not even a bill. It's a complaint. Because a bill is a complaint. It's set up in courtroom. That's what a bill is. We just saying it's a bill because we don't understand what a bill is. It's not a bill at all.
So because the average person is not conscious out there, they're all subject to everything.
Exactly.
Not knowing who they are.
99.9% of these people don't have a law dictionary. They don't have the state statutes. They don't have the Pennsylvania Code. They don't have these things.
That is the thing that we deal with a lot of things that don't know anything about
But
it.
anything you deal with, you have to know what it means. I had a talk with a brother. He was telling me about his Lexus. I said, well, what is a Lexus?
They created the
All right, go ahead.
down their party.
They called you a disorderly person?
They threw me out. That's
I know.
right.
I'm just saying though. That's what they try to label you as, a disorderly person.
But I kept it in a question manner when the judge verified to me that the attorney over here was representing someone. I said, we have not established that he's an attorney. And he said, what do you mean? I said, well, he hasn't produced his oath of office, nor has he produced his license to practice law as a foreign agent. And he said, well, I can verify that he's an attorney because I know him personally. I said, you can? I said, well, he said, I've seen his license. I said, you did? He said, yeah. So what did it say? He said, the bar card. I said, the bar card is only evidence of the fact that the dues occur in the bar association. That is not a license to practice law. And he said, are you an attorney? I said, no, I'm not. I said, are you? And he said, yes, I am. I said, you're committing fraud against me because you are...
he can't sit the bench.
Right. As an attorney, you can't sit on the bench. And I said, you're sitting over here verifying that this guy...
Can I correct you on something?
Go ahead.
They can do that if it's under the administration. He can do that.
Okay.
Under administration.
Okay.
He can do it. But not according to law.
All right.
He can do it under administration.
All right. Well, then he obviously knew that I was talking law without even saying it, and he was talking administration.
He cannot practice law from the bench. That's the difference.
Okay.
Matter of fact, I'm going to get the barristers in. Can you pardon me for a minute?
Individuals who constitute the state. And it says, in a more restricted sense, and as generally used in constitutional law, the entire body of those citizens of a state or nation who are invested with political power for political purposes, that is, the qualified voters or electors. In neutrality laws, a government recognized by the United States, the three friends. The word people may have various significations according to the connection in which it is used. When we speak of the rights of the people or of the government of the people by law or of the people as a non-political aggregate, we mean all the inhabitants of the state or nation without distinction as to sex, age, or otherwise. But when reference is made to the people as the repository of sovereignty or as the source of governmental power or to or as the source of governmental power or to popular government, we are in fact speaking of that selected and limited class of citizens to whom the Constitution accords the elective franchise and the right of participation in the office of government. That's all it says there in the people.
I'm trying to find the case, but I think it's upstairs, and I don't feel like going upstairs for that. Alright, anyway. Let me find this thing, man, real fast before I do this. I don't know why I can't find people in this dictionary. Hold up, Brother Marquette. Alright. The people. Now, there's a difference between people and persons. People, it says the state as the people of the state of New York. A nation in a collective, a political capacity, the aggregated of mass or individual who constitutes the state. Alright. It says, in a more restricted sense, it's generally used in constitutional law, the entire body of those citizens of the state of a nation or a nation who are invested the political power for political purposes. See also citizen and person. Now, we just read what person was. Now, they just said go back and see citizen and person. So what we want to do is look up those two words, citizens and person. Hey, see if the brother on the phone want me to repeat anything I just said to him, because I don't know what he's...
Excuse me, brother. He said, you need to repeat anything he just said? You can hear everything loud and clear. Thank you.
All right, thanks.
You looking for person?
No, I'm gonna look up citizen first.
Okay.
You can find it before me.
All right. Let me. I'm trying.
I got it.
Okay. Go ahead.
All right. It says citizen, one who under the Constitution and laws of the United States or of a particular state is a member of a political community, owing allegiance and being entitled to the enjoyment of full civil rights. All persons born or naturalized in the United States are subject to the jurisdiction thereof, are citizens of the United States and of the state where they reside. U.S. Constitution, 14th Amendment. Citizens are members of the political community who in their associated capacity have established or submitted themselves to a dominion of a government. All right. Now, however, neither the United States nor a state is a citizen for the purpose of diversity of jurisdiction. Or the other hand, the municipalities and other local governments are deemed to be citizens. It says here, or the other hand, municipalities and other local governments are deemed to be citizens. A corporation is not a citizen for the purpose of privileges and immunities clause of the 14th Amendment. All right. So a citizen, you have corporate citizenship also. So you have the two. So which one are they trying to say where you fit in that? So they told you a person is a corporation and a citizen is a corporation.
This dude just read the definitions and then turns around and says some foolishness. It's clear he did not comprehend what he just read. Yet he's trying to sit up here and teach other people.
So we're talking about people, which is totally different than persons and citizens. So when you read the 14th Amendment, it says all persons born or nationalized are citizens of the United States in the state where they reside. Resident. All right. So that's why when we go in the courtroom, we say things and you say, yes, I understand the charges. And they say, okay, you understand, your property. All right, lock him up. These things, so why the attorneys are not telling people this, I don't know. All right, we're going to look up the word resident. We're going to look up the word res first. Res is Latin, the subject matter of a trust or a will in the civil law, a thing, an object as the term of the law. This word has a very wide, extensive signification, including not only things which are objects of property. So you say that you are a resident. So they have jurisdiction because you're their property. You're the property. What's your resident address or whatever they want to say? Are you a resident of the United States? And the United States have many terms. I mean, the United States have many terms. Matter of fact, I'm going to read to you one of what the definition of United States is here. United States. The term has several meanings. It may merely the name of a sovereign occupy the possession, analogs to that of another sovereign in the families of nations. It may designate a territory over which a sovereign of the United States extends, or it may be a collective name of the states which are united by and under the Constitution. Hooven versus Allison. Hooven, Hooven, and versus Allison, Allison, Company versus Yvette, EVATT, U.S. Ohio, 324 U.S. 652-65 S.CT. So you have the different terms of the United States. It's not one when they say, are you from the United States? Because you have a territory of the United States and you have the United States. So when people come here, they give up their sovereignty to be part of the Union. Because you have America is a continent. You have Canada, Mexico, Argentina, and Brazil. When they come from Mexico, they come into the Union. And the president always says what? He's addressing the State of the Union. The Union was the Union Jack flag. That's the Union. So you're trying to be a part of their Union, which was the United States was the 13 colonies. You're talking about their Union. So we are all so-called supposed to be Americans. But when you want to come into their Union, now they got to deal with the Nationalization Act. There's aliens inside their Union. But the unconscious Moors don't Star Spangled Banner. It's the United States flag. It's not American. So they U.S. resident. Not are you from the continental United States. They say, are you a U.S. resident? You say, yes, I am. They don't ask you, are you a USA citizen? They didn't make a mistake and do that. They ask you, are you a U.S. resident? A thing that is identified in my territory. And we say, yes, we are.
So if we answer that we're citizens of the Continental Republic, United States.
Something totally different. You're from the landmass now.
Okay. That's totally different and exempt from their jurisdiction.
Exactly. Because they are created. They are created. And really, they're not even being taught this for real. And the only way they can get you is by contracts. We don't know contracts. I mean, I tell people visit a law library, visit any university that you have near you. Go in there, ask for contracts, ask for law books, ask for constitutional law. You know, this is what we have to study. Ask for state statutes. I'm going to read a couple of state statutes in here anyway when we get the second, copy of this tape here, because they're little copies of pocket parts that you can read. All right, Union. Let's see what the president of the United States is talking about, because that's it. He's president of the United States, not the continent. The Union, an organization of workers formed for the purpose of negotiating with their employees on matters of wages and seniority, working conditions, and fringe benefits, and alike. A league of a federation, and an incorporated association of persons for the common purpose as a trade or labor union. All right, so when they talking about addressing the State of the Union, they talking about this. Also, a popular term in America for the United States, also in Great Britain, for the consolidated government of England and Scotland, or from political tie between Great Britain and Ireland. Now, what did I just tell you the White Stripes represented? Ireland, Scotland, France, Britain, Germany, and Holland. Their union come together as one. So where are you?
Where you fit in?
Exactly, the Asiatic Moors. You're not in here. That's why you can't claim or get due process, because you're trying to fit into something that's not yours. Because if you read the Fifth Amendment, it says property and everything cannot be taken without due process of the law. But also in the 14th Amendment, it speaks about due process also. But it doesn't say compensating you, though. The 14th Amendment doesn't say compensation, but the 5th Amendment says compensation. All right, let me read this real fast to the Constitution. All right. The 5th Amendment, the rights in criminal cases. No person shall be held to answer for any capital or otherwise infamous crime unless on the presentment of an indictment of a grand jury, except in cases arising in the land or naval forces or the militia, when in actual service in time of war of public danger. Nor shall any person be subject for the same offense twice, put in jeopardy of life or limb, nor shall be compelled in any criminal case to be a witness against himself, nor deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor shall private property be taken from public use without just compensation. So don't they take people's vehicles and property without compensating them?
Absolutely.
All right, now, but it also says here that he cannot, in any criminal cases, be a witness against himself. What is a subpoena? A subpoena is telling you to bear witness against yourself, and we sign a subpoena to come back to court. I'm going to read that also after I read the 14th Amendment about compensation. All right. The 14th Amendment was proposed. All right. Here you go. It says 14th Amendment was proposed on June 13, 1866, and ratified on June 9, 1868. All persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state where they reside. No state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges and immunities of citizens of the United States. Right? Two differences. It says, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, property without due process of law, nor deny to any person within the jurisdiction the equal protection of the law. It didn't say compensation there. Didn't say anything about compensation, right? So we go back to the 5th. It says here, the 5th Amendment. It says, deprive of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor shall private property, not public, private property be taken for public use without compensation. So the 14th Amendment don't say compensate you. So anyone who's claiming the 14th Amendment don't have no rights. Don't have no rights at all.
Oh man, this man's misinterpretation of what he's reading is brutal.
Right? Now, it says here, where was we at? Twice jeopardy shall compel criminal. All right, I said subpoena, right? Let me see. Let me show you. Let's deal with a subpoena. Subpoena. All right. Subpoena is a command to appear at a certain time and place to give testimony upon certain matters.
Certain matters.
Okay. I ain't finished yet. Let's read that again. Subpoena. A subpoena is a command to appear at a certain time and place to give testimony upon certain matters. A subpoena ducis tecum requires production of books, papers, and other things. Subpoena in federal criminal cases are governed by federal rules of criminal procedure. Federal rules of criminal procedure. This is what they're talking about. Yeah, that's the judicial code of rules of procedures in federal court. All right. So a subpoena is telling you to come to court and bear witness to the matter. That's what I just told you about the subject matter. What is the matter? The matter is the thing. All right. Let's look. Subpoena is S-U-P, sub, going back, subpoena, S-U-P-P-O-E-N-A, subpoena. What'd you say?
Never knew that.
Oh yeah, you only telling on yourself. Alright. Matter. Alright, it's now here, it says subpoena. So a subpoena is command to appear at a certain time and place to give testimony upon certain matter. Matter, a substantial fact forming basis of a claim or a defense, fact material to issue a substance of distinguished from form, transaction, and event. Okay, so someone is claiming something in the courtroom. Who's claiming you? If you don't do a counterclaim to counter his claim, you have no standing in the courtroom. Subject is the one that's liable. The matter, and this is what they're dealing with in the courtroom, the subject matter. That's why when you walk in the courtroom, the first issue at law, what's the status of the court? They say, what's the status of the court? Oh, he's blah, 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 blah. Okay, boom. Do we have the jurisdiction? What's his address? Okay, now we're going to adjudicate, because now they already took claim, and you don't have claim in it. So what you got to do is do a counterclaim to counter his claim.
Whoa, that was very deep. All I have to do is a counterclaim to counter his claim. That's a good one.
Okay, now it says the matter of law. Whenever is an assertion is certain or decided by the application of a statutory rule or principle determination of the law, as distinguished from the investigation of particular facts. So we're dealing with facts here. What is the nature and the cause of the accusation? See what I'm saying? If that person going back, if he said it's a scofflaw, what is the nature and the cause of the accusation? I need to know the nature, what you're coming at me with. What is the law? Now we said what nature was, right? It's the law of nature. You cannot change the law. So you have to have an injured party in it, and it cannot be the Commonwealth. Who is the Commonwealth? If I'm the Commonwealth, see what I'm saying? What am I doing in here and you judging me? Because the Commonwealth is common people having wealth in a particular area. Welfare is aid. That's all it is, welfare. Aid to who? To poor people.
I got a friend, right, who got a subpoena a couple months ago, but it was because of I guess it was something between him and his baby's mother. But they brought the subpoena to him saying that she asked for the she required, the subpoena so they can come to court. Now when they go to court and they file the complaint against him, and just so happens maybe sometimes, they'll make out with something where they'll take some out of his check every month. Now who gets that money and who gets a percentage of
It
what?
goes to the basically it goes to the, what do you call them people? The child support unit. It don't go to the mother directly. They give her a check. But first of all, how are they going to get him in there?
Unless he takes the subpoena. Or
Exactly. Did it come? It's not a complaint, because the complaint has to come from the DA. You got to file a complaint with the DA. The DA got to review it. Then she signs it, and then send it to the judge, and they sign it. And then they have to put a court seal on it. It's called orphans court. That's what you're talking about. Orphans court, and that's why they say it's called orphans court. That's in the state constitution. Orphans court. Then you have what they call them, guardian. Are you the guardian? Because you don't own the child. You are the guardian. You're no longer the parent. You gave that up. You become the guardian. And you are in an orphan's court. So your child is an orphan. This is what's going on. See what I'm saying? So they're claiming your child because you're incompetent. You can't claim your child. So we got to go to them to solve out our problems. See what I'm saying? So this is what the whole catch-up was going on. As long as we don't sign it, we got to be careful what we sign.
Once it's in the law's hands, then you really can't do that much.
You can do it if you know how to do a counterclaim. He can draw up an affidavit himself and actually, affidavit is law. That's law. Somebody has to rebut that affidavit.
Affidavit is basically something that you write up yourself.
Anybody can do that. You can get 3 signatures. Affidavit has to be rebutted. It's law. It stands as truth until someone rebuts it. That's what an affidavit is. You don't need nobody's permission to do an affidavit.
So an affidavit is basically a contract drawn up by an actual person?
Yeah, all of it's contracts. All right, here you go. Affidavit: a written or printed declaration of a statement of facts made voluntarily and confirmed by oath or affirmation of a party making and taken before a person having authority to administer such oath or affirmation. So what you're doing is drawing up an affidavit. Now they got to come and prove that you're wrong, because all of this is a declaration. It's a statement. It's a public announcement. You're making a statement. Now you got to come and prove it to me that I'm saying something that's wrong, and you can't do that. They won't do it. I'm gonna tell you. I know that they won't do it. All right. Let's deal with some things out of the Pennsylvania statute. This one here is crimes and criminal offenses. I want to get into this book here. First, let's read out of the United States codes. Everyone, this goes for everyone. This is the lawyer's edition of the United States codes. Let's go to Title 18, 241 and 242.
Yes, another sovereign citizen favorite. Title 18, 241 and 242.
Are you familiar with Article United States Code 12 is a Section 241 and 242?
And also you can deal with them in a bill of particular also. Hmm. 241. I see 242. All right. This is Title 18, under 241 is conspiracy against rights of a citizen. If two or more persons conspire to injure or oppress, threaten, or intimidate any citizen in the free exercise of enjoyment of any rights or privileges secured to him by the Constitution or the laws of the United States, or because of his having so exercised the same. If two or more persons go and discuss on the highway or on any premises of another with the intent to prevent or hinder his free exercise of enjoyment of any right or privilege so secured, they shall be fined not more than $10,000 or imprisonment not more than 10 years, or both. And if death results, that they shall be subject to imprisonment for any term of years for life. Can I get a picture of this? And this is applying to conspiracy against rights. Can I? Let me read this one first before you take that off. All right, that was titled 241, subsection 241 of Title 18 of the United States Codes. In Title 242, subsection 242 of the United States Codes is deprivation of rights under the color of law. Whoever under any color of law, statute, ordinances, regulations, going back, the police deal with ordinances, regulations, or customs, willfully subjects any inhabitant of any state, territory, or district to the deprivation of any rights, privileges, and immunities secured or protected by the Constitution or laws of the United States, or different punishments, pains, or penalties. Tickets have penalties on them, all right? On the account of such inhabitants being an alien, 14th Amendment. Even if you are an alien under the 14th Amendment, you are protected. Or by reason of his color or race, then are prescribed for the punishment. It says, for the punishment, citizens shall be fined no more than $1,000 or imprisonment not more than 1 year, or both. If death results, shall be subject to imprisonment for any term of years or for life. It was done June 25th, 1948. All right. Can I get these? I'm gonna read under Barrister School of Common Law.
Once again, this man is just reading random nonsense. He doesn't have a clue at what it means or how to actually apply it in any situation. And again, this is the same stuff we hear other sovereign citizens spouting in court and at traffic stops. Yet Sabir would like us to believe that he isn't a sovereign citizen.
If it's a problem taking it off, don't worry about it.
What did you want?
If it's a problem, and I just want to see this page.
Oh.
Yeah,
well, it is.
Well, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Let's read this again. It says deprivation of rights under the color of law. Whoever under any color of any law, statutes, ordinances, regulations, or customs willfully subject any inhabitant of any state. What is the color of law? First, let's go back where it says whoever under color or any state law, statute, or ordinances. Do you have to obey those rules? Not according to the barristers, School of Common Law. It says that any officer or employee of any state or one of its subdivisions, which is the police department, is deemed to be acting under the color of law as to those deprivations of rights committed in fulfillment of the task and obligation assigned to him. Failure to obey the command of a police officer constitutes a traditional form of breach of the peace. Obviously, however, one cannot be punished for failing to obey the command of an officer if that command itself is a violation of the Constitution. Wright versus Georgia. WRIGHT versus Georgia. GEORGIA. 373 U.S. 284-291-2. So failure to obey a police officer, he operate under the color of law, you don't have to obey him according to law because he's acting under 242, deprivation of rights under color of law. So let's go and see what the color of law is dealing with.
But he's not an officer to begin with anyway.
They're not officers, exactly, but they saying officers. See what I'm saying? So any officer.
My vocabulary is going to change a lot now.
Huh?
My vocabulary is going to change.
You have to be very careful, man, because they deal with words, brother. They dealing with words here, and we got to be very careful what we say, what we saying out our face. Exactly. People saying, please, you giving them authority. I'm like, you giving these cats authority over you by calling them cops because they're not constables on patrol. You know, we got to be very careful, man, because they act. Here you go. Color of law. Color of law, the appearance or semblance without substance of legal right, misuse of power proposed by virtue of a state law and made possible only because the wrongdoer is clothed with authority of a state in its action. Taken under the color of law, Atkins versus Lanning. Atkins, A-T-K-I-N-S versus L-A-N-N-I-N-G. Lanning, D.C. This is Oklahoma, OKL dash 415. When used in this context of the federal civil rights statutes or criminal law, the term is synonymous with the concept of a state action under the 14th Amendment. Thomas versus Wiener. All right, and it says, and it means pretense of law includes actions of officers who undertake or perform their official duties. All right, acts under the color of law of a state include not only the acts done by state officials within the bounds of the limits of their lawful authority, but also acts is done without and beyond the bounds of their lawful authority, provided that in order for a lawful acts of officials to be done under the color of any law, is unlawful acts must be done while such official is purporting or presenting to act in the performance of his official capacity, his official duty. That is to say, that unlawful acts must be consist in the abuse or misuse. Go back to Title 18, 242. Misuse of their power which is possessed by officials only because he is an official, and that the unlawful acts must be of such a natural or character, and be committed under such circumstances that they would not have occurred, but for the fact that the person committing them was an official and that they exercising his official power outside the bounds of his lawful authority. Title 42 of the United States Codes Annotated, 1983. 42, Title 18, 1983. There's two differences. You have Title 18, dealing with deprivation of rights. You have Title 42. One is dealing with human rights, which is the one I just read. Title 18, 242. You have Title 42 is dealing with the civil rights issue. Now, this is ultra-virus. Any police officer that operates outside his authority is operating outside his charter. Their duty is to, if you're doing something wrong, is to take you in, not beat you up, not take your car. That's not their job. That's why you have to get their home rule charter. You have to get these things. They're operating under ultra-virus, outside their authority. All right. Let me look up this ultra-virus.
But remember how you said in the last tape with the driver's license that if you register your car with the stickers and the tags and all that, then you're automatically giving them...
You're giving them jurisdiction if you automatically register your vehicle anyway with them. But you have to be careful. Being as though they're not educated in law, you're supposed to be educated in law. Don't assume that they know the law, because they don't know the law. You can't assume anything, because assume is make, you know what they say, A-S-S-U and me. So don't assume anything. So I don't assume that they know the law. I know that they don't know the law, so I'm not even going to make that mistake. So what you have to do is protect yourself and study, you have to study certain things. You know, so how to reserve your rights. I was looking for ultra-virus, but ultra-virus basically means operating outside their charter. Because all of them have a charter that they operate under. And the sooner I find it, it might not even be in this one. Oh, I even know it's in here. Gotta be. Well, ultra-virus basically is they're operating outside their charter. Pardon self, could you pardon self, could you pause that for a minute? All right, could you read it for me?
Yeah, sure. Ultra-virus, the modern technical designation in the law of corporations of acts beyond the scope of powers of a corporation as defined by its charter or act of incorporation. The term has a broad application and includes not only acts prohibited by the charter, but acts which are in excess of powers granted and not prohibited.
That's it?
No. I'm trying to pick it up again. And generally applied either when a corporation has no power, whatever, to do an act, or when the corporation has the power but exercises it irregularly. People ex rel.
All right.
Versus bank. Okay.
All right. Now, the 6th edition also says ultra-virus, an act performed without any authority to act or subject. All right. The city of Seattle, it says acts beyond the scope of the power of a corporation. Now, we just read that the municipality is a corporation. It's a charter, the municipal charter. They are operating outside when they do something that they don't supposed to, so they're acting under the color of law. So you never had due process. So does due process apply to you? And who does it apply to? If you don't know your status or your nationality, law doesn't apply to you because you're saying you're colored, or I'm black, or I'm Negro, or I'm white. Law does not apply to you because you don't know who you are.
That actually might have been the dumbest thing this man has said the entire video.
Why these things are not being taught to you? I mean, I don't know. Yes, I mean, you know, they say that the law changes, but you can't change the law. I just told you that. You cannot change law. All right. Another thing. Let's deal with the Title 18 of the United States Codes. Title 18 is the same thing. This is the Pertinence Pennsylvania Consolidated Statute annotated Title 18's Crimes and Criminal Procedures. This is the whole. This is the Pennsylvania Crime Codes. This is the Pennsylvania Crime Codes. You have the Pennsylvania statutes, also the same things, similar to the crime codes. And at the end of this tape, I'm going to show you some pictures of what the actual warrants and everything's supposed to look like, and what kind of seal they're supposed to have on them. Because every state has those statutes. I mean the crime codes in the statutes. I don't know where they at, you know, everywhere. Let's see, 4904, which their favorite line is that unsworn falsification to authorities. That's 4904. And let's see who it applies to. All right, 4904. Unsworn falsification to authorities. Now, who is the authorities? If they're not officials, who is authorities? All right, relating to application, where's it at? The section derived from section 241.3 of the Mono Penal Code, while existing law contains various provisions penalizing false swearing to public officials in particular cases. So they're not public officials then, are they? Are the police officers public officials? Who are public officials?
So people like that.
They're public officials, right?
Correct.
So who are they then? If they're not police officers, exactly. So if they're not police officers, they're not public officials, and they sign it because they sign everything. They sign their name where it says unsworn falsification to your authorities.
Very crime they're accusing us of.
Exactly. But you are prosecuting yourself without knowing, because you know nothing about law. And these things are not being brought to you. So they're signing it because they are subject to the jurisdiction. They are subject because I'm the people. I'm not the person. I am the people. My status, I am the majority. I'm not a minority. And I'm going to get into that also. If I forget, remind me, because I might go off track a little bit with certain issues. But I'm going to be jumping around now since I brought certain stuff out. But I'm going to deal with certain issues. Let's go to public officials. Public official. Here we go. All right. Now the state statute says, while existing law contains various provisions penalizing false swearing to public officials. First of all, when did they ever swear? They never swore. You just signed it. All right. But it says to public officials. It says a public official is a person who, upon being issued a commission, taking required oath and enter upon for a fixed tenor, A position called an office, where he or she exercise in his or her own right some attributes of sovereign. He or she serves for the benefit of the public. Right? Says the holder of the public office, though not all persons in public employment are public officials, because public official position requires the exercise of some portions of the sovereign power, rather great or small. All right? So they're not public officials. Who are these people?
Wait a minute. Who are you?
Imposters.
Yeah, they are imposters. You know, I used to be a little. You as a child used to run around and dress up like the Indian and one dress up like the cowboy. It's not real. But everyone has security guards, and that's what they are. They basically are security guards for the corporation. That's all they are. So just like I just said earlier, and here, these things here. This is basically this is the 50 titles in the United States Code. There are 50 titles of the United States codes, and each and every last one of these codes can be found in your main law library. It's the governmental department. It's 50 titles to these things. And Title 1 is dealing with general provisions. Title 2 dealing with Congress. Title 3, the President. Title 4, the flag and the seal of the government in the states. Now, you want to know what the gold fringe flag mean inside the courtroom, go to Title 4 of the United States Code.
Yes. The classic sovereign citizen gold fringe on the flag defense. I'm not sure if Sabir Bey is aware, but he is hitting on all the classic sovereign citizen arguments that they bring into these courtrooms and at these traffic stops.
For the record, on the record, this court, as well as the Baltimore City Police, did not ever provide disclosure of their operations. Non-disclosure is fraud, and therefore entrapment. I now hereby invoke fraud upon the court in general, and fraud in this case in particular. My first item of evidence to prove my case of fraud against this court is the gold fringes around your flags in the back of this courtroom. Disclose exactly what that means.
Mr. Moore is a sovereign citizen.
Fraud on the court and fraud in this case. Fraud on the court and fraud in this case. I want you to defend yourself. The burden of defense is now on you. What does your flags mean, the gold fringes? And you have your plaintiff is state of ground. Is that a he or she person that filled out an affidavit that they were injured?
It's a Title 4 deal with the flag and the seal. A seal, basically, any court of record has to have a seal, a court seal, not the stuff that they stamp it and all of it. It has to have a seal. Title 4 will break down the flag. It doesn't say it has 4 colors. It has 3 on there, red, white, and blue. And it actually tell you what the gold fringe flag is for. And they'll actually tell you it's for parades, and it's for the military. It's a maritime flag. It's the laws of the sea. They fly it in your church. They fly it in your school. They fly it in your banks. They fly it in your courtrooms. That is a military flag. That's a federal area. That's a federal zone. That's all it is. And we don't understand that that's not the flag of the land, supposed to be of the United States. It's a maritime flag.
Right.
And
you flag of war? I mean, it's wartime flag?
Oh, it's just basically contracts done on the sea.
Okay.
But they brought the sea onto land, the booty and the prize. So they brought I think it's the prize that's one on the sea, and they bring it onto the land. So now everything is dealing with equity. It's all equity. It's contracts. So if you want to know about the flag, you can go to Title 4 of the United States Codes, Title 4. All right, flag and seal. Now, Title 5 is dealing with government and organization and employees. Title 6 is dealing with surety bonds. Repealed Title in 31. Title 7 deal with agriculture. Title 8 dealing with aliens and nationalization. If you want to know about aliens and nationalization, it's on there. Title 9, aspirations, something like that. I may pronounce it wrong. Title 10, armed forces. Title 11, bankruptcy. Title 12, banks and banking. If you don't want to know about banking and banks, it will be in Title 12. And they will also tell you how the banks cannot loan credit. Loan credit, it can only loan its money. It cannot loan credit. And this is how you can void out all your bad credit by dealing with them under ultravirus. Ultravirus is they're acting outside of their charter. They can't do it. They never lend you no money. They only give you a check. You sign it, and then they offer something. You offer something to them, and they offer something to you. And there's a contract there. Now you got to perform, and they got to perform. But now you got to know how to discharge the debt because they can't loan money. Congress said that they can only lend their money. They cannot loan credit. They can't. Where do they get the credit from? You signing.
So it's your credit.
Exactly. So you the one that does it. That's Title 12, banks and banking. Title 13 deal with census. The census they have every 10 years. How much property we have in the area. That's what they're doing. They see how much property we have in that area. That's what the census is for. Title 14, Coast Guards. Title 15, Commerce and Trade. Title 16, Conservations. Title 17, Copyrights. Title 18, what I just read, is dealing with crimes and criminal procedures. Anything you want to know about crimes and criminal procedures and how you get them is in crimes and criminal procedures. Title 19 is customs, duties, customs and duties. Title 20, education. Title 21, food and drug. Title 22, foreign relations and intercourses. Title 23, highways. Title 24, hospitals and asylums. Title 25, Indians, whatever that is. Title 26 is dealing with the Internal Revenue Code. Anything you want to know about any tax issue and who's supposed to pay the taxes, you can go also, I think it's 6331 of the Internal Revenue Code. It'll tell you, 6331 subsection A will tell you who's supposed to pay taxes. Say that again. Title 26, 6331 of the Internal Revenue Code, Title 26 of the United States Codes. Or you can look in the IRS codes, Title 26, or you can look into the Code of Federal Regulations, Title 26. Anything you want to know about taxes and who's supposed to pay it, that's Title 26. Title 27, intoxicating liquors. Title 28, judiciary and judicial procedures. That's Title 28. That's the law part, the side of the law. Title 29, labors. Title 30, minerals and lands and minings. Title 31, money and finance. Title 32, National Guards. Title 33, navigation, navigable waters. Title 34, Navy. Title 35, patents. Title 36, patriots and societies and observations. Title 37, pay and allowances of all uniformed services. Title 38, veterans benefits. Title 39, postal service. You want to know something about the postal service? It's in Title 39. How you don't need a zip code. And what the zip code is. Title 40, public building, property and works. Title 41, public contracts. Title 42, the public health and welfare. Title 43, public land and title. Public lands. That's Title 43. Title 44, public printing and document. Title 45, railroads. Title 46, shipping. Title 47, telegraphs and telephones. Title 48, territories and possessions. Title 49, transportation. That transportation is talking about you. Title 49. You look in the United States Codes, Title 49, the CFR, Code of Federal Regulation, Title 49. Anything you want to know about transportation and who is subject to it is in Title 49. Title 50, war and national defense. 50 titles. I thought I brought that out with me. All right. Let's go dealing with judiciary. Let's see. Now, I spoke earlier about what judiciary was. Let's go back. When I told you, if you were in a courtroom and they said a Commonwealth versus, all right, it says the Commonwealth as a plaintiff, where if the Commonwealth did not have jurisdiction over the claim, that's going back, the claim issue. It says court did not have jurisdiction over the claim asserted against a defendant by original the defendant in suit entitled by the Commonwealth matter should not have been dismissed but should have been transferred to appropriate court of common pleas. All right. The Commonwealth defined as the state, the public, school buildings, authority, is Commonwealth government for the purpose of jurisdiction statute, State Public School Building Authority versus Hazelton Area School District. This is judiciary. All right, let's deal with the party. Now, this is out of Pertin's Pennsylvania Consolidated Statute Annotated Title 42, Judiciary and Judicial Procedures. All right, 2001. Parties, non-profit corporations that are contracted to conduct oversight planning and operation of medical client where the party was aggressive by the trial courts issuing an ex parte emergency preliminary injunction prohibiting individual members of corporations, board, and directors from implementing resolutions. Remember, resolutions is not law. It is not law at all. It means to resolve something. Reds is a thing, to resolve that thing. It's not law at all. So someone says, well, the city council passed a resolution or the city council passed the an ordinances. None of that stuff is law. None of it. Ordinance is not law. Regulations is not law. Statutes is not law. It is none of this law. It is exactly what it said is. Statute is a statute. Statute don't move until you move it. Ordinance means ordain, to ordain someone to do something. A regulations mean to regulate that issue, to regulate it. That's all it means. And when they say like certain stuff like saying something has to be verified according to the state statute says includes an unsworn document containing a statement by a signatory that it is made subject to penalties of 18 Pennsylvania Consolidated Statute subsection 4904 relating to unsworn falsification. So it doesn't have to be sworn or, or unsworn. You sign it. That's it. That's the contract. So now you're saying that I committed a crime. Now what crime did I commit? So who will be held on perjury?
They will.
Exactly. So who's committing crime? No, you are. You persecuting yourself.
Okay. When you write it.
When you write certain stuff, when you sign a ticket or anything, go to traffic, wherever you go at, you sign it. I don't care if you get an application for a license. I don't care what document. Read everything down. I don't care if you spend hours holding the line up, because that's what I do. I stay in hours holding the line up until I understand everything that's on that paper. What we do is take the pen and sign, without even reading it, sign it. You're subject to it now. You didn't read the fine print when I said down here, I reserve my rights and under such and such, you can be penalized. You didn't do that. Even when they release people out of jail, they don't read it. They so hurried to get out of jail that they sign anything. But when you forfeit of coming to jail, you actually telling them that they can lock you up. If I fail to appear, you can do this to me. And we sign it without reading it. And this is what jams us every time. So now they do have the right to come after you because you did not sign what you're supposed to sign. You can put down there, do not consent. You can put down there, all rights reserved. You can put these things down there on the document. If they say, well, you can't do that, well, my signature is private property. You telling me I can't reserve my rights? You telling me I have to consent to this? Okay, if I'm consenting to it, that's a threat. You're threatening me to actually sign these documents. So under threat and duress, I'm not really obligated to it.
Threat, duress, and coercion. Another sovereign citizen favorite.
Did not accept your offer to contract and do not agree to these proceedings. All right, so what do you want to do?
I'm here under threat, duress, and coercion. I'd like to say for the record, my name is Jamil of the Family Locker.
You could also put that down, signed under threat and duress.
Oh, yes, you can do that. You can put that down there also. They threaten you to put it down there, ain't you? You forcing me to use my private signature on a document. It's mine. So how are you forcing me to do this? So they're making you tell on yourself. All right. Let's deal with, let me see. Let's deal with, it says here, judiciary branch. Judiciary branch, it says the judiciary branch is specified in section 10C of Article 5 of the Constitution of Pennsylvania. I don't have my Pennsylvania Constitution, but it defines the judicial branch. The magistrate, it talks about district. A district magistrate, a district established within the judicial district pursuant to subchapter A of chapter 15 relating to magistrate district for elections of a district justice. All right. A judge. It's talking about judge. The difference between a judge and a magistrate. People getting them guys, clothing people, mistaken for judges. Judges include a justice of the Supreme Court. That's where your judges is at, in the Supreme Court. It says in the Supreme Court, except with respects to the power to select a president or administrative judge. They are administrative judges in Center City. They're not judges. Administrative judge is dealing with an agency, which is a corporation. Then you got to go back and see if you have a contract with these people. All right. It says to appoint and remove. So administrative judges are appointed by city council to advise and assist the governor. They are appointed. All right. And they said and remove the administrative staff of the court and to adopt rules of the court and other similar matters. The term includes a senior judge. All right. It's government agency here. It says any Commonwealth agency or any political subdivision or municipal or other local authority or any other officer of agency or any such political subdivision or local authority. All right. Now here, we just got done speaking about the affidavit, which you just were talking about. I'm going to speak on that also. It says in the Pennsylvania statutes, also in the law dictionary. Here it says the affidavit. It includes an unsworn document containing statements of facts and a statement of the signatory. Same thing. You sign it. It stands as truth. It says that it is made subject to penalties under 18 Pennsylvania Consolidated Statutes, subsection 4904, relating to unsworn falsification to authorities. So if I'm committing fraud from what I'm writing out to you, come and arrest me. You got to prove it, right? Prove that I'm doing something that's wrong. It's prove that I'm bringing in, I'm a natural being, not a natural person. I'm a natural being. I'm this, I'm that. Prove me I'm wrong. Prove me that I'm wrong, that you're coming after a fiction. See what I'm saying? With the name in all caps and the address, and bring to me what the definition of an address is. Okay? All right. Administrative judge. The administrative judge of a division of a court determined on selected as prescribed by general rule. Administrative office. It says the office of the court administrator of Pennsylvania as specified in section 1902 relating to administrative office of Pennsylvania courts. All right. This here, you can get this in the Pennsylvania statutes. This is the Title 42 Judiciary and Judicial Proceedings. All right, let's deal with some other things here in this law book. Is the brother still on the phone?
Yes, excuse me, brother, you still there? No? Okay.
He still there?
Yeah.
All right. All right, let's I'm gonna look up certificate and what a certificate of title is and what of is. Certificate. It says a written assurance of official representation that some act has not been done, or some event occurred, or some legal formality has been complied with. A written assurance made issuing from some court and designed as a notice of a thing done thereon, or as a warrant or authority to some other court judge or officer. A statement of some fact in writing signed by the party certifying declaration in writing. A certificate by a public officer is a statement written and signed but not necessarily sworn to, which is by law made evidence of the truth of the fact stated for all or for certain purposes. A document certifying that one has fulfilled the requirements of and may practice in a field. See also affidavit, see birth certificate, and see license. Are they trying to tell you something?
Yo, is there any way you can get away from like the childbirth thing, where so you're putting the feet on the piece of paper and whatnot? Is there any way you can is it a loophole for it?
All right. What happens is that you can draw up an affidavit before your child is born, and what happens? That baby footprint can go on that document, and you can sign that document, you and her, which meaning that it's live birth. Or you can attach that to the birth certificate or whatever documents that they telling you that you have to have. You can attach that to it and send it in with it. See what I'm saying? So, because you may go through a little, they may say, well, you can't take, first of all, how can you tell me not to take my baby out the hospital? But I'm just saying, though, to save the headache, some people don't, you know, you can actually take an affidavit, draw it up before she even, you know, she had a baby, have the date and everything already set up, or get somebody, you know, that know how to do it. Draw the affidavit up, attach it to it, stating that it's a live birth, this is their name, up in lowercase, whatever the name want to be. Yeah, I mean, you ain't got to argue with them. Or if they say, well, you can't do that, show me the law. I just told you that. Produce the law.
Well, this man has absolutely no idea what he's talking about. He is just saying things. He's saying all of the things these sovereign citizens say, yet he would like us to believe that he isn't a sovereign citizen. Sir, you are clearly teaching sovereign citizen rhetoric.
Oh, it's in something. No, produce the law. See what I'm saying? That's all you want them to do, is to produce the law to you. If they saying something's a law, I mean. All right, I want to read to this thing here. I just ran across to a crime. It says a positive or negative act of violation of the penal law, an offense against the state or in the United States, crime and misdemeanor. Properly speaking, in synonymous term, though in common usage, crime is made and denote such offense as are or more serious nature. In general, violation or an ordinance is not a crime. An ordinance is not a crime. So why they lock? I mean, they're saying it's a crime. It is not a crime. An ordinance is not a crime. A crime may be defined to be any act done in violation of those duties which an individual owe to the community, and for the breach of which the law provided that the offender shall make satisfactions to the public. A crime of public offense is an act committed or omitted in violation of a law forbidding or commanding it, and to which is annexed upon conviction, either in combination of the following punishment: 1. Death, 2. Imprisonment, 3. Fine, 4. Removal from office. I don't have an office, so what are they talking about them? Going back to them again. Or a disqualification to hold and enjoy any office or honor or trust or profit. While many crimes have their own origin at common law, most have been created by statute, and in many states such have been codified. All right, pardon myself. I have to get some cases for you. It said the ordinance is not a crime. All right. These are some Supreme Court cases. All right. Now, the Supreme Court cases decision says, where it concluded by that the Court of the Ninth Circuit that the people are not bound by codes, rules, regulations, and statutes and ordinances, being mere private acts of law, but are inaccessible and forever bound by the law of the land, being the general laws, is entitled to the free exercise of full processes provided by the general law of the land, which have been protected and secured by the several states, Constitution, and the fundamental organic law, and shall never be compromised. Rodriguez versus Secretary of Labor and Donovan. Let's get that on there. So the people are not subject to the rules, regulations, and statutes. Now, we just read who was subject to the rules, regulations, and statutes, and that was those that's in the official, and, well, basically, it's part of the municipality or the charter. So you're not subject to it. There's another case. Let's point out when they tell you that you cannot represent someone in courtroom. The power of the administrative agencies to admit non-lawyers to practice before them without a state approval is recognized by Section 6A of the Administrative Procedures Act 5 of the United States Code, Section 1005A, which provides that nothing thereon shall be construed either to grant or deny to any non-lawyer the right to appear for or represent others before an agency or in any agency proceedings. Sperry, S-P-E-R-R-Y versus Florida, X-Rel, Florida Bar, 373, United States, 379-83S.CT. All right. Let me see. All right, let's deal with the number 6 of the Supreme Court decisions. It is clearly states officers acting in judicial or quasi-judicial capacity are disqualified by their interest in the controversy to be decided. Turney, T-U-R-N-E-Y versus Ohio. But quasi is near. If you understand what quasi means it's near it. It's like it's at, but it's near it. It's not really what it is. And they could be disqualified by acting like they have interest in it, like practicing law from the bench. If they have a party, if they are party to it, they can't prosecute you because they are part of it. And they can be fined. It's a high misdemeanor to practice law from the bench. It's a high misdemeanor to do that. Because see, these people don't know these things. So, and also it says that state courts, like federal court, have a constitutional obligation to safeguard personal liberties and to uphold federal laws. Stone versus Powell, S-T-O-N-E versus P-O-W-E-L-L. 428 United States 465-96 SOVCIT. It says the state courts, like federal court, have a constitutional obligation to safeguard personal liberties. All right. Number 3, an administrative agency may not finally decide the limits of a statutory's power. This is judicial functions. Social Security Board versus NIEROCO, N-I-E-R-O-T-K-O. Those are the cases. All right. Here it says number 1. Here it says a government may not require individuals to relinquish rights guaranteed him by the First Amendment as a condition of public employment. All right. Where we at? All right, let's deal with number 9. United States versus Lee. No man in this country is so high that he is above the law. No officer of the law may set the law in defense with impurity. All officers of the government, from the highest to the lowest, are creatures of the law and bound to obey it. It is only the supreme power in our system of government, and every man who is accepting office participates in its function. It is only more strongly bounded to submit to that supremacy and to observe the limitations of which it imposes upon the exercise of the authority in which it gives. So they are bonded by whatever they sign. They are bonded. You're not bonded because you didn't take an oath. You didn't sign anything. And that's 106 United States at 220. It's not a case on this one, but these are all Supreme Court cases. So you're not bonded by nothing, by your consent, without you knowing. That's how you're bonded, by these contracts, because all law is based on consent. You have to know what consent and assent is. Like you just said, Rob, you got to be very careful. You say you're going to change your whole attitude about what you say. You have to change your whole vocabulary, man. You have to be very careful with what you say. Very careful. That's why you ever hear this saying when they say if you want nothing good to say about somebody, don't say nothing. You don't know what you're saying. All right. Here's consent. Consent, a concurrence of a will, a voluntary yielding that will to proportions of another, anguishes, or a compliance thereon, an agreement, approval, permission, and the active result of coming into harmony and accord. Consent is an act of reason, accompanied by deliberations and the mind weighing as a balance of the good and evil of each side. So you're basically you're consenting. That's what we did when we had the babies. We consented to give the child to the state. So now the child of the state is a state ward, and then you have a warden, which is the governor, and you go to jail, you have wardens. This is how it's set up. And your child is an orphan because you gave up the parentship when you had the child. So now, they state ward. That's why they call it orphans court again, and they call you the guardian. They say, are you the guardian? You become the guardian, no longer the parent. You gotta love them, boy. But if you read the Constitution, it says that in the state Constitution. It says orphans court.
Yeah, but you have to look up the words and see exactly what they mean.
Exactly, orphans court. Exactly, you have to look the words up. It says orphans court.
Case in court like that. When I had the permit, I was telling you about the carry firearms. They took it back, took me in court, charged me with a convicted felon in possession of firearms. What I did was I explained to the so-called judge that I said I was never convicted of anything in my life. She said, "Well, weren't you placed on probation for 3 years?" I said, "Yeah." "Well, doesn't that tell you were convicted?" I said, "Absolutely not." I said, "It was called plea bargaining. I was tired of coming to court. You were tired of having me come, and we came to an agreement." I said, "In order to want to be convicted of a crime, one has to be found guilty by a jury of his peers or a judge." I said, "I was never found guilty by a jury of my peers or a judge." So the prosecutor said, "Well, you pled guilty." I said, "I did not. We plea bargained." You follow me? And then we had to go through this defining of plea bargaining. She said, I said, "Yana," I said, "let me say it to you this way. When you apply for credit cards, they run a credit check and then they issue credit cards. They don't give you the credit cards, they run a credit check later."
Right.
So she actually found me not guilty because she believes that I believe I was never convicted of anything because I've never done any jail time. I said, "That's correct." You know, still didn't help me any because, again, I was still in their system and lacking in knowledge.
What is a system? A system is a body. It's like a body part. That's what government is a body part. So, I'm not part of your system.
Right.
People say, "Oh, you're trying to always buck the system. You're trying to beat the system." Why not? What is a system? It's not mine. I didn't give them consent. Where did delegation of authority at? We have to also ask for delegation of authority.
Right. That's
Where did the delegation of authority come from?
Yes. The scarred sovereign citizen delegation of authority trick. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that'll work.
For the record, I need your name and your badge number.
Right on the shoulder, just past Wood Street, south through 130.
I need your delegation of authority also. I'm for you everybody that comes over here. I am for you everybody that comes over here. Yes, ma'am.
Can I have your surety bond number? I
don't know what that is.
Do you have a delegation order of authority?
I don't know what that is either.
Okay.
You need for portable electronic device, okay? The court date's on there. My name is on there as well as the police department. Please don't use your cell phone while operating your vehicle.
This is not I'm not operating a vehicle, I'm traveling. I'm not operating a vehicle for compensation. This is not I'm traveling.
Regardless of anything you're saying.
State trooper.
I know you understand what I'm saying to you.
It's conspiracy. All right, have a good one.
And aren't they all required in order
to do something? They have to have
a delegation of authority order.
Yeah, they have to have a delegation of authority order.
If you're from somewhere.
All right.
If they can't produce that negates what they're trying to do.
Delegation of power. Here you go. The transfer of authority by one branch of government in which such authority is vested in some other branch or administrative agency. U.S. Constitution delegates different powers to the executive, legislative, and judicial branch of government. Exercised by the executive branch of the power delegated to the legislative branch offends this separation, and delegation of the power and hence is unconstitutional. So one can't give another branch authority. Legislative can't give the executive authority. Executive can't give judicial authority because there's a separation of power there. They have to be separate. So there is none. So you got to, even if a police officer say, "Well, wait a minute, where's your delegation of authority?" And they say, "Well, I'm police officer." They'll point to their badge. Well, I didn't ask you who you work for. I said, "Where do you get your delegation of authority from?" So I'm saying this is how, so you can't expect them to know any of these things because they're not taught this. They're not taught this. And I had to talk with a brother today about this issue, and he wanted to talk with me. He worked for the school board, and he was just talking about how he wanted to sit down and talk with me more on these issues because there's not enough brothers that's bringing this stuff out. And he told me that make sure if I do the tape, a lot of older people don't want to hear it because I'm young, and they don't want to hear that you know more than them. So I have to actually show this stuff and show the people where they can find this stuff at. All right, where was we at? Delegation of power. And the delegation. It says delegations, a sending away or putting into commission the assignment of a debt to another, entrusting another with a general power to act for the good of those who deput him, a body of delegates to transfer authority by one person to another, the act of making or commissioning a delegate. Man, these cats, you gotta love these people, boy. So where does the police get their delegation of authority from? Corporation.
That we don't have a contract with.
No, that's why if you deal with these people, ask them to produce the contract. What they'll say, which they always say, go back to the birth certificate.
Right.
That's the contract.
But if you did your UCC 1 on that,
It don't even argue that issue. They don't.
So
I wasn't competent. Listen to this. Was you conscious when your mother had you?
Not at all.
So how could you sign?
That's right. Well, they say negotiation is effective even if obtained from an infant. Negotiation is effective even if obtained.
But a minor
from
can't in the
foreign.
contracts,
That's
though.
correct.
See what I'm saying?
Right.
Minors can't in the contracts. So they call you a minority, don't they? And you're a minor, you're a child.
Right.
So you can't enter a contract. So they can't hold it against you. See what I'm saying? You're a minor.
What does the Social Security card have to do with?
Well, it's supposed to be for when you get older. That's what it's supposed to be about. Social Security is supposed to be when you get older. That's what they say. You know.
Is that a form of any identification?
That's not identification. No. There's no form of identification. What is identification? I'm telling you who I am. What am I committing fraud? Lock me up then. I'm committing fraud by saying I'm black. I mean, I'm committing fraud by saying my name is John Smith. That's fraud. But see, they ain't gonna hold that against you because you committed fraud against yourself.
That's right.
See what I'm saying? So that's fraud. That was the case behind Dred Scott. Dred Scott case. He said he was African, but on the other hand, he had the name Scott. Dred Scott. So he came in the courtroom as a plaintiff in error. He's coming in saying that he was African, but on the other hand, he's saying he's Scottish. That's fraud. That's like me going and saying I'm a Chinese man.
Right.
They'll look at me like I'm crazy and say, are you crazy? But the thing is that you committing fraud against yourself. So they ain't going to hold that against you. Oh, this is what I wanted to get into. Jurisdiction. Jurisdiction. It says the term is comprehensive, important, embracing every kind of judicial function. Federal Land Bank of Louisiana versus Crumby, C-R-O-M-B-I-A. It says it is the power of the court to decide a matter in controversy. And it says presupposes the existence of duly constituted courts with control over the subject matter and the parties. Now, they got to prove subject matter jurisdiction, right?
Jurisdiction and subject jurisdiction. Another sovereign citizen favorite.
Well, the law state that in Hagan versus Levine state that anytime a jurisdiction is challenged, that it must be proven before the case proceeds.
Okay.
And you're trying to proceed with this case without establishing jurisdiction first. That's the law, Your Honor.
Just hold on, Mr. Pierce. I'm looking in the docket here, and I'm not seeing that you filed, and it just may not have made it yet, that you filed a motion challenging jurisdiction. But I'm happy to let you know right now, I'm real comfortable with the court's jurisdiction. That doesn't mean I won't.
Your Honor, it states that the proof of jurisdiction beyond a reasonable doubt is asserted. I'm the one asserting jurisdiction here, Your Honor. So that means I have to prove jurisdiction, but you got to give me the opportunity. If you don't give me the opportunity, you're violating my rights, Your Honor.
You outside of that jurisdiction. Don't go to court and challenge jurisdiction. Learn how to get out their jurisdiction. Just learn how to remove yourself from the jurisdiction. Then you can start doing everything as far as like exercising your rights. And the reason why you have to do that, because that take you out of territorial jurisdiction from the state.
Do they have the subject matter jurisdiction? This says to control over the subject matter. Now, we just talking about what the subject in the matter was. It's the thing that's liable, right? So if you say you have an address, that's how they get you. That's the subject matter. It's the thing. Resident. Excuse me. It said the jurisdiction defines the power of the court to acquire into a fact, apply the law, and make decisions and declare judgment, right? It says the legal right by which a judge exercises their authority, right? It says also it exists when the court has cognizance of a class of cases involved proper parties are present, and the point to be decided is within the power of the court. It says the power and authority of the court to hear and determine judicial proceeding, and power to render a particular judgment in question. Okay, now we want to get into this the jurist. We want to deal with the diction. I might need a dictionary for that, though. And that's where you get the jurisdiction from. Knowing the dictionary.
So you're going to look into jury or jurisdiction?
Jurisdiction. Juris and diction. I just spoke about jurisdiction, but I'm going to get into break down the words juris and diction. And I knew I had to go into a dictionary, but anyway, let me read juris. Juris is one who is versed and skilled in law, answering to the Latin word jurisprudence. Go back. Juris is one who is versed in or skilled in law, not at law, in law. All right? Answering to the Latin word jurisprudence. A judge, a legal scholar. Did it say a lawyer or an attorney? Let's go back. Juris is one who is versed or skilled in law, answering to the Latin jurisprudence. A judge, which anyone can be a judge, a legal scholar, or you can be a scholar. So it has nothing to do with an attorney or a lawyer. It says one who is versed and skilled in law. So if I'm versed and skilled in law, how do you have jurisdiction? You don't have it. Because I know good diction. And I'm versed and skilled because I have the diction and I have the jurist. This is what we have to know. We have to know the law of nature. We also have to know their contracts. You have to know, well, you can't play the game if you don't know the rules. So we have to know the game, the rules, the rules in the game. All right. It says officer name, the commission, the judge presiding court. All right. It says a judge, an officer so named in this commission who presides in some court or public officer appointed to preside and to administer the law in a court of justice, the chief member of a court in charge with the control, proceeding, and the decision of question of law, discretion. A public officer who has by virtue of his office is clothed with the judicial authority, state ex rel, mayor, and ex rel meaning ex relationships. Never use AKA dealing with anything with these people. AKA dealing with like also known as. You always want to have ex rel, ex relationship with that slave name. It's not you, but you have ex relationship with that name. I'm gonna throw almost at the end of this tape, so I want to throw out some certain stuff. De facto. I mean, any questions y'all want to,
What is the job of the jury in court?
Oh, I'm glad you said that. The jury is the ones who decide the laws and the facts. That's the jury. The jury deal with the laws and fact. What they are told. Now, if a judge opens his mouth and tells the jury what to do, what is he doing?
Follow the law.
He's jury tampering.
All right.
He tampering.
And they do it every day.
Exactly, because do the people know the law?
No, right.
See what I'm saying? Do they have a law book? Do they have the state statutes?
No.
Do they have the jury handbook? It's a jury handbook out there that they can go get.
Okay.
When he says stuff to them, they tell them to deal with the facts.
Right.
Why they can't tell them to deal with the law? Because they know nothing about the law. See what I'm saying? Now, if either one of us sat there, those that is versed in law, if we went in a courtroom, well, then again, we wouldn't even probably get that far.
Okay,
So,
I'm
saying it wouldn't get that far because now we know the law.
Right.
See what I'm saying? So if we go in, the thing what we would say, if they force anyone into jury duty, anyone that they mail something out, we'll put down there, demand jury nullification. Jury nullification meaning that we deal with facts in law. They won't even call you. This is how you get yourself out of the jury duty.
Okay.
Jury nullifications mean, I'm just telling you, see, people putting down in religion. You don't put down religion because that ain't got nothing to do with it. What you do is put down in jury nullification. Jury nullification means that you deal with facts in law. What they tell the jury is just deal with the facts that's presented to you.
Right.
That's what they do.
Not the facts in law.
Exactly. But that's what they do. They give they tell you that.
They give them instruction.
Oh yeah, but that's jury tampering
That's
though.
exactly what it is. Exactly.
Yeah, he can be punished for jury tampering.
Should be.
He's over here telling you, I want you to listen to me.
Right.
No, you just a referee. You have to sit up there and you referee.
That's right.
We want a jury. And then if any more come into the courtroom, more had to be tried by their peers.
Right.
2 peers. It's the same, ain't it?
Okay.
2 apples is the same apples, right?
Right.
Cats, right? That's a peer. So where's my peers at? Even if they say my peers Your peers is the people is in your community.
Right.
Now they didn't separated the community up to the point that you have, you know, Europeans and Asiatics in the same. See what I'm saying?
Right.
So still bring my community in the courtroom with me. Those who know me, that's what your peers are. Those who know me,
Right.
I'm in the courtroom with them now.
Okay.
So this is what's going on with the jury. We don't even understand that we got to have a jury of our peers. We got these people from Northeast, somebody from North Carolina, somebody from California, somebody from Jersey. You got all these people. I mean, don't know nothing about law, don't have a law book, sitting there dealing with your fate.
Well, let me ask you something. Has there ever been a time when the Moorish, the brothers got together and went down and challenged this stuff in these so-called courts?
I know that back in the day that I used to see pictures, but I don't think they knew the law. I'm gonna tell you, I don't think, even to the point of the Panthers, that they say the Panthers knew law, they knew constitutional law, they knew certain stuff, but that still, by them using the word black and Panthers,
Told you they didn't know.
still didn't know anything. See what I'm saying? By them using the term black, why would you put black before the Panther?
Right.
See what I'm saying?
Right.
So by you saying Black Panthers, they say, man, he can talk all the guns he can have in the world. You know what I mean? He don't understand what, you know, the constitutional law, what they studying this stuff.
You just admitted to being a slave. And
Exactly. But they were right on far as
certain things.
arming themselves in the Constitution. Yes, they were right. They were very versed on the Constitution. But brother, these cats have so much stuff under their sleeves, man. They had, now go back. This thing here was, this home rule charter was done in 1951. The Panthers started in 1960s and stuff, 70s. You got to understand that these things already been here.
Right.
But they wasn't able to get this stuff here. The home rule charter, the United States Code, did they have that? Did they have the Pennsylvania statute? Did they have the Pennsylvania crime codes and the New Jersey crime codes or the California crime codes? Did they have this kind of stuff? No, they were just dealing with the Constitution.
Right.
But see, they had, and when you read the Constitution, they can go around it and come under it. See, this is their game. They will come around, they would make up things inside the Constitution, say, well, make it, oh yeah, well, like disorderly person in the Constitution, you don't have to have a jury trial. See what I'm saying? But this is what they'll do to cover their behind. So you got to actually have research, and you got to have certain stuff set up. Say, okay, well, according to this, or a case under, you know, you got to know how to research their stuff because it's there.
Right, it's there.
All this information is there. But I applaud what they were doing.
Right.
But that's why they came down on them the way they came down on them, because they didn't really have, you know, all this
What
stuff
they
like
needed.
that. They didn't have exactly certain ammunition because it wasn't out like it is now. You know, it's more easier. We are in the information age. It's a movie Gary come out with this Jennifer Lopez, and the dude was chasing her, and he said, well, we are in the information age. She tried to duck him. I know you probably seen the commercial. She tried to duck him, and he knew everywhere she went at. She slipped a card in the machine and said, your account is closed. You go to the gas station, they know where you at. You go to Florida, you use that card, they know where you at. That's your new tracking device. The new license had a tracking device on the back. Everything that you think you're getting away from, oh, they don't know where I'm at. Shoot, go use that.
Right.
It was many movies out like that.
Yeah.
So they know where you at. Don't act like you know you ducking somebody.
Right.
Only way you ducking if you probably use that. Which I don't even trust the money because they had strips in there also.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So if you look at the notes they carry, it's not money. Let me correct myself. It's notes. It says Federal Reserve notes. It's not money, and you cannot pay a debt with that.
Right.
But they're doing it. You know. But this is the little. You know, we have to know all these things. We have to know how to get in and out of these contracts.
I agree.
We have to know what to sign. If you sign something, put down there without recourse. Recourse means you're not liable.
Mm-hmm.
You're not liable to a third party. That's what recourse is. Another way that you can do it, you can put down there Billy Smith by agent John Jenkins, whatever. See what I'm saying? You can have your sovereign name, or you can have your corporate name by agent and your sovereign name. So the agent is not liable for the dummy.
Right.
That's how you separate the two.
I put the dumbest thing down on the subpoena.
Yeah, exactly. You can put that all caps if you want to.
Make it a legal fiction outright.
Exactly, it's legal fiction because they're gonna send it to you in all caps, whatever they do.
Right.
So it's a fiction, and you can always. It's not me.
Right.
Until you prove to me this is who I am in upper and lower case, which is who I am. Go back to 3rd and 4th grade. What did we do with spelling bees? They said capital.
Right.
Capital.
See what I'm saying? We forgot all about that. See what I'm saying? I'm just saying though. But these people who are in certain positions that's highly educated supposed to know this, right?
They don't.
But they don't know this. So if you see a name that is not in upper and lower case, it is not talking about me. It is talking about the dummy.
Right.
And the dummy is a front man.
Right.
It is not who I am. So we're answering for the dummy. is John Jones in the courtroom? And you stand up. We got him. He's in here. Instead of standing up saying, I'm here in regards to that matter.
Yeah, that's what I did to the judge. Yeah.
Oh, the matter.
Yeah.
I just told you what the matter was.
Exactly.
I'm here in regards to the matter. It's not me.
That's right.
But I'm
in regards to the matter.
exactly. I'm here in regards to the matter.
That goes from everything from, like you said, birth certificates, like financial aid.
Everything. They don't even lend you money.
No, they don't.
It's a wire transfer.
Yeah, and it's
Then you never seen them say, exactly. It's bookkeeping. The numbers that's on there, they go to a bookkeeping. They say, look, here, sign your name here. You sign your name. Now you're obligated. You got to perform. Because in contract law, you have offer, acceptance, consideration. This here is a good tape.
Okay, so it's gone as we.
This is a good tape. This here is a professor spec, and he actually goes into the offer, acceptance, considerations. It's in Chicago University. These tapes are here. You can buy these at any university, and I have them. I have them too. If anyone's looking for those things, also I have them. You can just give me a call. The number will be at the end of the tape. My email will be there. It's at sabirbey@hotmail.com, or you can reach me at kimmit@bestweb.com. That's the 2 emails, and my number will be at the end of the tape. You know, any information that you need, it will be available at the end of the tape. Let's see, before we close out, let me look up the I almost forgot what I was looking for. The dummy. What a dummy was. And what is a dummy corporation? Well, yeah, it's a straw man. It's a dummy. Oh, I had it on here. First of all, let me read to you what due process is before I get into that. Due process of the law. The law in the regular course of administration through courts of justice. Courts of justice now, not equity, courts of justice. Due process of the law in each particular case means such exercise of the power of the government as the settled maximum of law permitted and sanctioned, and under the safeguards for the protection of individual rights as those maximum prescribed for those classes of cases to which the one in question belongs. A course of legal proceeding according to those rules and principles which have been established in our system of jurisprudence. Again, jurisprudence is the science of law, for the enforcement and protection of private rights, not public. They cannot protect you in private affairs. Attorneys cannot protect you under and they can't give you rights. Attorneys cannot give you rights. They can't even protect your rights. You have to protect your rights. They cannot protect your rights.
So they have to commit fraud against you when you.
Oh yes. Yes, but you don't know because you know nothing about law. Again, go back. It says private rights. To give such proceedings and a fidelity, there must be a tribunal competent by its constitution. A tribunal competent by its constitution. All right, that is by the law of its creation to pass upon the subject matter. Subject matter. Going back to the same thing again. Subject matter of the suit. And if it involves merely a determination of the personal liability of the defendant, he must be brought within this jurisdiction by service of process within the state or his voluntary appearance. Voluntary appearance. So when you voluntary to appear, you submitting yourself to the jurisdiction. They telling you right here. They telling you.
So in other words, it'd be best to deal with them by mail.
Exactly.
Send you something, send them something.
Exactly. Now, how do they properly have to serve you?
Well, from what you showed me and told me, through a proper process server assurance.
Exactly.
Okay.
All right. Now look, it says here, go back. It says the course of legal processing according to those rules and principles which have been established in our system of jurisprudence for the enforcement of protection of private rights. To give such proceedings and fidelity, there must be a tribunal competent by this court, its constitution. That is by the law of its creation to pass upon subject matter of the suit, and if it involves merely a determination of the personal liability of the defendant, it must be brought within the jurisdiction by the service of process. Service of process. Now I'm going to read something to you. It says personal jurisdiction and venue in service of process. All right. It says presence. It says being served with a copy of the summons and the complaint. It has to be the summons and the complaint together. All right. While physically present in the form of jurisdiction, the physical presence of a defendant in the form of sufficient basis for acquiring jurisdiction over him, no matter how brief his stay might be. All right. Domicile, residency alone is a basis for exercising jurisdiction over the absent domiciliary. Milliken versus Myers, i.e., a person may always be sued for all claims regardless of where they arise, in their state or permanent residency, or in cases of a corporation, the state in which it is incorporated. Consent to personal jurisdiction. A defendant who has not been personally, now remember, a defendant who has not personally been served in the jurisdiction can nevertheless volunteer to appear and submit himself to the jurisdiction. In such cases, the defendant is said to have consented to the jurisdiction, consent by obtaining an advantage of any lawsuit being filed, and can consent by applied. Hess versus Pulaski. All right. It actually talks about how they properly you have to properly be served. All right. By making an appearance in a response to a lawsuit, a defendant is affected by submitting to the jurisdiction of the court and waiving any defects. By waiving any defects, right? If any personal jurisdiction, in most states, a defendant who wishes to challenge jurisdiction may do so by making a special appearance, which is limited to the issue of jurisdiction. See California Code Civil Procedures, subsection 418-10. California Code Civil Procedure, subsection 418-10. If he or she raises any other issues or claims, he had made a general appearance. So you can't go in raising anything else. You have to go in and argue the jurisdiction, make a special appearance. Anything else, it will be general. And he waives any defects in the jurisdiction. Defects is that if it come to me in all caps, that's a defect. You send it back, refuse for fraud. It's fraud. It's not me. You have to properly serve me. You cannot mail anything to me because the post office is not a processing server. So they're not a party. They can't mail it to me. So you have to come and knock on my door and serve me. They can't mail it to me. It's improper service under Rule 12B. I think it's Rule 12B of Rules of Civil Procedure. Rule 12B.
And if in fact you're at the door and they hand it to you and you look at it and realize it's not your name and you refuse it because it's not your name, that's still not proper service?
No, it's not proper service. Yeah, it has to be properly served. They can't serve it, mail it to me. Alright, well, I can't find it. Let me see something. Let me finish about the subject matter. It says, brought within the jurisdiction of the service or process when the state or his voluntary appearance. Let's go and see what appearance is. Oh.
I have an appearance on this end.
All right.
Okay, appearance. In practice, a coming into court as party to a suit, whether as plaintiff or defendant. The formal proceeding by which a defendant submits himself to the jurisdiction of the court. The voluntary submission to a court's jurisdiction. Appearance is the act of appearing, coming, or being in sight, becoming visible or clear to apprehension of the mind, of being known as subject of observation or comprehension, or as a thing proved, of being obvious or manifest. Appearance anciently meant an actual coming into court, either in person or by attorney. Appearance may be made by the party in person or by his agent.
All right, see. Now, when you get an attorney, he's submitting to the jurisdiction for you. When you get the attorney, he's submitting the jurisdiction. Now, most people may see that they say you must appear in court. Now, how many people seen that? You must appear in court. Must, right? Must. It says this word is like the word shall. It's primary of a mandatory effect. State X Rel versus McCann. All right. It says, and in that the sense is used in antithesis or something. I can't pronounce the word. Excuse me. To mean may. Basically, must means may. You may appear, like they're giving you an invitation. It says may, but this meaning of the word is not the only one, and it is often used in merely the directory sense, and consequently, it is synonymous with for the word may, not only in permissive sense of that word, but also a mandatory sense, which is the same sometimes has. So basically, must means you may or find some type of defect that's in that process and challenge it. So like I said, the process serving, if you find a defect in it, you got to actually show it and send it back refusal for fraud, because it's fraud. You can write on it refusal for fraud, anything that you want to do. My time is almost up on this tape, so what I'm gonna do, how much more time I have, brother? 9 minutes. Yeah, I'm gonna record. I'm gonna read minority to the people, then I'm gonna actually show you what minority and majority means. Because people always run around saying that they are the minorities and don't understand what minority and majority means according to law. Not according to everyday words, but even if you look it up in the dictionary, it's going to tell you the same thing. Alright. Minority. It says the state or condition of a minor, infancy, opposite of majority. See minor. Compare legal age, majority. Minor. It says an infant of a person who is under the age of legal competency. So can minors enter contracts?
So basically, from 1 to 4, 1 to 3, you're a minority.
Exactly. You're a minority. You mind is like a minor. You think like a minor. So you're saying, yeah, we are the minority. If we was the minority of the group of the people, it's crazy. We are the majority of the people. If you deal with numbers, but they're not dealing with numbers, they're dealing with the mentality of the people. So let's go to majority. It says majority, full age, legal age, an age at which a person is no longer a minor. The age which by law a person is capable of being legally responsible for all his or her acts. So if you're majority, you are responsible for your acts. E.g., contractual obligations, and is entitled to the management of his or her own affairs, and to the enjoyment of civil rights, e.g., rights to vote. The opposite of majority. Also, a status of a person who is a major in an age. See adult, capacity, legal age. So all these people saying that they are minorities don't understand that they're children. And that's why you have to have an attorney to watch you, because you're a state ward. Your property. You don't understand what's going on. You got, man, you gotta love these people, man. Can you, I'm gonna get a copy. I'm gonna get a copy. I want to touch on certain things, brother, that people say every day, like disenfranchised. That's what I want to look for. Did you find that for me?
I'm trying.
Where you at? Alright. Here you go, disenfranchised. For all those people that say they trying to disenfranchise us, disenfranchised, to deprive the right and privileges of a free citizen, to deprive of chartered rights and immunities, to deprive of any franchise as of right of voting in elections. Now, they talking about franchises. In any election where the party system furnishes the means of which a citizen's right is of suffrage and is made effective denial of his party's rights and participate in election accomplishes the disenfranchisement of voters and compels them, if they vote, to vote for representative of political parties other than that to which belongs, and the deprivation of the rights and selections of its deprivations of rights and franchise. So there's totally different. You want to be disenfranchised. You don't want to be part of a corporation and be a franchise. You want to be disenfranchised. But my time is up. Hopefully I'll be speaking with you next time. And the only thing I can tell you is study law, pick up these books, you know, and let's get busy. You know, I just gave you the keys. I want to get a copy of Minority and Majority for the people. All right, bro. When you finish, Islam. Talk to you next time.
let's never